And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Ham Radio Live. We hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. As always, we go live every single Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on youtube.com/MrMattyPlays. Fret not if you miss it. We're available on all podcast services across Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Those links are in the video description down below. Or you can just search Ham Radio Live, Mr. Matty Plays, whatever works for you. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Paul Lombardo. Paul, what up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, Matt? Been having a really productive day today. Woke up early, got some homework done, took notes for the podcast, did my research for everything. So it's going to be a good show.
Hell yes, dude. We'd love to hear that. Yeah. Fridays are my favorite days of the week. It's a little less work intensive for me personally because everything gets done before that. So there's no videos on Fridays. We just do this show. And so it's up until 6. I just kind of get to do whatever. So I spent some time with a game I'm reviewing and then recorded for a patron project you and I are working on. And after that, we sent some videos to Josh, our editor here on the channel too. And we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes. One note I want to make before we get deep into this show is this episode will be going live to the public a day earlier than usual. Normally we go out to the public Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. It'll always be like that. This week it's different just for this week specifically because we have 2 big reviews dropping like really close to each other. And if we had the podcast also coming out, it would lead to honestly like the most cluttered 3 video Sunday I've had in a really long while. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give room for everything to breathe. So I thought it's just more wise to just put the podcast out a day early instead. So just know that this will be archived a little bit quicker than other episodes. But other than that, that's all the housekeeping I've got. Paul, are you working on anything that you want to share with the audience? Anything come to mind? Or shall we just dive into what we're playing?
Honestly, schoolwork has been like eating me up. I had midterms. I know you said that your Fridays, they're usually like, you're just kind of relaxing. But for me, I'm like grinding on my Fridays because I want to get all my work. I want to get it out of the way so I have the weekend to just relax. And,
right.
My favorite days are the ones where I can get out of bed, brush my teeth, grab some food, and then start gaming like right then and there.
So, I respect the morning gaming grind. I can't do that.
Yeah. I can only do it when I don't have work ahead of me. So that's why like today, I'm like, okay, I got this assignment that's due Sunday. I got one done, one that's due tonight at 12. So I get them out of the way, and then I have a weekend of gaming and whatever else I have planned.
Business decisions. Yeah. I remember the best feeling when I was in college was getting all my stuff done and knowing I just had a week to kind of bullshit and do whatever. Especially when YouTube didn't need 10 plus minute videos. So I was just like, oh, here, 3-minute video, 4-minute video, just poop them out onto my channel and just go take the week off. So much easier back then.
It's so weird though, because if I have like time during the week where I don't have schoolwork, I get scared. I'm like, am I missing something? Is something gonna bite me in the ass? Like, oh fuck, I had an assignment this week or something.
Yeah.
It's like that a lot in college.
I know.
Not so much high school, but it's weird.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, I'm ready for a good show. We got a lot of news to go over in this week. It was certainly a busy one, and things are really ramping up on the event side of things. We have a 20th anniversary for Xbox, State of Play we're going to talk about. You got the Game Awards. So there's going to be a lot of announcements late in this year, which is kind of shocking to see, but I think it just shows that a lot of games were pushed back due to the pandemic. So we'll have much to speculate on. For now, though, no more housekeeping. Let's talk about what games you and I have been playing. Would you like to go first? It seems you've been playing a lot.
Yeah, so this week I started Bayonetta, which is really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I think like Platinum Games, their combat is just so flashy and really engaging. And even if it's not super deep, although I think Bayonetta is a little deeper than I had thought it would be, it's still got it's so eye-pleasing, I'm kind of scared though because Bayonetta 2 is on the Switch. I think it's only on the Switch and Wii U.
Yes.
Bayonetta 1 I'm playing on PS5, so I have it in 60 frames. But I know when I get on that Switch, it's probably not going to be in 60 frames. I haven't confirmed it yet because my girlfriend's playing it on the Switch right now. But I'm kind of like, oh.
I think it is. I think you'll be okay.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Did you play it?
Yes, I did, but I played it on the Wii U. So,
oh god,
okay. I know. I played a Platinum game. I love Platinum though, so it was worth it for me. But yeah, I played it on that huge gamepad that they got.
Is Astral Chain on is that in 60 frames?
I actually don't think it is. No, it's not. And it's weird because that's a game that we saw Xbox extract Octopath, and I'm like, if I were Xbox, I'd see what I could do about Astral Chain, because that game could use 60 FPS. It really could. It plays really well, but it's just not platinum until it's 60.
I know it's weird with Octopath. When I played that on the Switch, it was in 30 frames or whatever, but I didn't mind because like it's a turn-based game, right?
Yeah, it's sprite-based.
Yeah, and it kind of works because it's sprite-based. You have like the 16-bit look, but when you actually end up seeing it in 60 frames and like 4K on the Xbox, it's really crazy, and it's hard to go back.
Right.
Besides Bayonetta, I've been playing Hades, which is fun. We talked about that last week, so I won't get into it that much. But I still haven't beat a run yet.
Really? Wow. Really?
Yeah,
Okay. It's taking you some time.
Yeah, I keep getting to the second phase of the final boss. I almost spoiled of the final boss. But I don't know. Somebody in the comments actually gave me like a build. They said that works really well. So maybe I'll try that one. I forgot what it was, but and then the other. Oh, I also played a little bit of Animal Crossing. Of course, we gotta pick it back up. I flew into my island. It was in disarray. My villagers are running around. People want to move out. They're wondering where I'm at. So I had to fix some things up, pick up some weeds. I had like this huge area in my village that was just like a hole. I don't know what I was doing there.
Right.
So I filled that in, and the other thing that we both played a little bit is Smash. And I want to talk about Smash because I was going to text you about this last night because our mutual friend Brian and I played Smash last night. And
oh, no.
So
things you hate to hear.
No, it was fun. Here's the thing. When Sora came out, Matt and I were like, this isn't it. Like his kit is weird.
Yeah.
But I spent more time with him, and I'm like actually kind of liking him now a lot.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think it's because I figured out how to play him more, and I realized like I was trying to get so many ground combos in, and you really just have to get him up in the air, and then once you learn how to navigate with that, and when you learn how to like properly use the spells, he's a ton of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we might have to hop on tonight or whenever you're.
I'm honestly down. Yeah, no, I'm down. I'm ready to tackle it with an open mind again. When I played him, I was just disappointed. Not because I wanted to be a ground fighter, but he just felt floaty. And as you know, because we play all the time together. But for those who don't know, like I enjoy characters like Falco, Sephiroth, like these grounded sort of. I guess Falco is an aerial fighter, but he's very. I feel like mid-stage, like he functions best on the ground to get you up, where Sora felt like he was only good in the air. So I just don't play good with these fast, floaty fighters. So when I was fighting around with him, I was thinking to myself, man, of course. I love Sora, and of course. Like, it's just not my guy.
But it makes sense. I mean, like, even in Kingdom Hearts 3 especially, he's super floaty. I feel like 1 is like the least floaty. You get to 2, I think 2 is the perfect balance, and then 3 is like this is too much.
Yeah.
But they definitely like modeled him after, I'd say probably 3. But I don't know. I've been liking it a lot more the more I play with him. I even played today before the show, so I'm getting my hours in.
Yeah, it certainly will kick my ass when we play because I've gotten no hours in. I was playing so much Nick All-Stars that honestly, when I picked up Smash, it felt really slow at first because Nick All-Stars is if there's anything I could compliment it for, it's just so quick. It's a fast game. Everything's very responsive. Everyone moves across the stage in a heartbeat. So when I was playing Smash, I was playing Sephiroth, and I push my analog stick all the way to right, and he just kind of walks over.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wow, this feels weird.
That's actually one of the things that's really bothering me. Like, like in Smash, you have like a down tilt. For people who don't know, it's like you move your stick down, and that's an attack. If I sent a Snapchat, you might have seen it. I sent it last night, but you didn't have the context behind it. I was trying to show Brian.
Yeah.
If I spam like the stick down, and I'm just constantly pushing it down, not pushing it, but pulling it to do a down tilt. After like 2 times, he stops, and I have to stop doing it and then start doing it again, and he'll start down tilting. So you can't spam, and it feels so unresponsive, and it happens with like other things in Smash too. So I don't know if that's an issue with my controller, but I tried it on the Joy-Cons and I had the same problem. I think it might be a networking thing because I know Smash and just Nintendo in general has really bad networking problems.
Yes,
but
sadly.
But it felt very, very unresponsive, which kind of sucks because I feel like I'm always hamstrung by that when I'm playing. Like I'll be swinging the wrong direction because Sora didn't turn around when I pull the stick to make him turn around or whatever. But yeah, so I've been playing Smash and all those other games. What are you playing, Matt? I want to know.
Yeah, so it's one of those awkward weeks where a lot of the games that I've been playing are under embargo. So,
I know what they are.
Yeah, right. So it's one of those situations where it's like, well, I've been playing a lot of games. Like I was grinding so much that last night, usually you and I are in call. I was like, I can't join call. I was like, I need to get this done. I have a busy weekend ahead of me. So it was like, I need to make sure I sink like hefty time in. I don't get distracted. I don't start BSing. So like I feel like I got ahead of my work last night where I like really went in. I'm reviewing 2 different games right now. So honestly, like the only game I think I've played that I can talk on, and I think I never spoke on it yet, was Nick All-Stars. I've played that a lot. I'm very close to the Platinum Trophy on this. I got it on my PS5. I also bought it on Switch because I am a maniac. I really like this game. I want to shout it out because it's not Smash, but if you look at it like, okay, this is a Smash clone and just a Smash clone, like, I think it's very serviceable. It's especially when you go online, that's where you start to see, oh, there's actually a little bit of depth here. The combos you can pull off, the speed of the game, I must applaud it. I think it feels really good to play. There's some jank there. I wish that some of the characters were voiced. The errors and flaws of this game are very obvious. Like what you see, you already know what the problems are. And if you kind of accept those, like, again, it's content light. But if you accept those, I think underneath it's actually a really fun game. So I've been enjoying it a lot. I got to play about like 20 to 30 more quick play matches and I'll have the Platinum Trophy. So once I'm done with these reviews, that'll be the next thing I grind out. I'll get that Platinum and probably move on to some other games. We've been talking about playing Chrono Trigger next month, the group and I.
Yeah, so, we're all going to jump into it.
Yeah, we're all going to do that together. So we'll be talking about that later for sure. But that's probably going to be the next thing I dive into. But outside of the 2 games I'm reviewing, which we'll talk about extensively next week, and it's why we're moving up the launch of the podcast to Saturday for the public. So you'll hear about them shortly. But we'll talk about those next week. Right now, unfortunately I don't have much to talk about on what I'm playing because I am bound by contract.
Yeah, I remember cooking you up because I was like, oh, no. I can play the games I want. I'm not under a contract.
Yeah, I know, right? You were just like, yeah, I'm gonna play this and that. I'm like, it must be nice. As I stare from the outside, knowing what I'm gonna play that night. So it's not a complaint. It's just like it's kind of you. It comes with the territory. I have to map out what games I'm playing, and especially this time of year, it gets busy. Because you think you get it mapped out, like you look at all the release dates and you go like, okay, I got time for this, or that. Let's take them all on. But then you don't know when the review copy is going to come in. Because in the case of one of them, it came like 2 weeks early. And in the case of another one, it came like a weekend early. So you just don't know how early you're going to get it. Where you can map it out by release date, but you can't map it out by embargo and the review copy being sent timing wise. So like I'm looking at KOTOR on Switch. I'm looking at Skyrim Anniversary. I'm like, okay, I want to review these or at least cover them. How early am I gonna get them? Because they're releasing at a reasonable time. So we'll see with those. But it's the one tricky part about content creation that's not talked about a lot.
Yeah, there was a game that I wanted to review. I didn't end up doing it. I think it might have been one of the ones you were also reviewing. But by the time I would have gotten the code, I would have had to grind. And like I did that with Far Cry, and it was like, it almost, not that my experience was bad because I had to review it in such a short window, but I feel like sort of like towards the end when I was grinding, trying to get a lot of these missions out, the missions were so boring that it like made the experience worse because like, oh, I have to do this. I can't like go do some side quests to refresh and stuff. I have to get this done.
Yeah,
so
it's tough.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's tough because. And when I say tough, by the way, I know there are jobs that are harder. But when I say tough, I mean more so it's not the optimal way to play games sometimes. And when you get something like one of the games I'll talk about next week, which came 2 weeks early, I was able to take my time, dabble in and out. That's the best feeling because then it's a normal review process. But the one I got a weekend early, it kind of works based off the length of the game where I don't feel too crunched. But since I have some plans that I don't want to skip out on, we're going to medieval times. So I want to make sure that... I play and beat it in time and give it time to digest all that stuff. It's really the digestion period that I think's the one that gets missed out the most. Is you don't have time to, once you finish it, think on it, discuss it, see how it ages. So you just really trust your gut on and your ability to critique and stick by your opinion when you put it out there. So I feel you on that. If you can skip out on it, I don't blame you.
Yeah, and it's also a game I wasn't really interested in the first place. So
I get you. We just got a couple of super chats, and then we'll get into the call-ins. First one comes from Adam Thim. Hey, boys, I'm about to pick up my Zeal Bar action figure today. Was wondering what is your favorite video game action figure, or what one do you want?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't think of any specifically. I don't have an action figure, but I have like a figure. I guess that sort of counts.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah.
I have a Kasumi Yoshizawa one over there,
Nice.
which I love.
Would love that.
But I'm big on Nendoroids. I don't know if anyone knows what Nendoroids are, but they're kind of like action figures. They're kind of small. They're like they range from like $50 to I think $70.
I think they're like a better version of Funko Pops is the way I define them.
They're like high quality Funko Pops, but the reason I say they're sort of like action figures is because you can put them in different poses. They come with different faces. So if it's from like an anime or a game where like they're always doing, well, I guess everybody does different things. But if they have some like iconic like animations or iconic like faces, then they'll have that like in the kit. So my favorite one is my 2B. It's because you can put her in all these different poses. Like she can be like up in the air, and they have like a little thing that helps them sort of like float or whatever.
Yeah.
And she can pull out different weapons, and they have the pod. So I'm big on Nendos.
I would pick probably because I was always disappointed with Danganronpa's figure output. I would pick Byakuya.
Oh, I'm not.
Because because they have like what's her name, Kyoko, but they like I love Byakuya Tagami. Like he's my favorite character in that series for sure, and I feel like if you get a tall figure, like I have the only piece of merch that's based around him. It's this like 2-inch figure. It's like it's standing up in my room.
Oh yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah, it's cute, but it's just like I want like a full one of him. Like I just bought the other day. It was $90. It was at my local card shop. They had a Mega Man Fire Force kind of figure. It was a plastic model kit, so I'm going to build that soon. But I picked that up. But like I buy fucking Mega Man everything at this point. That'd be my pick though. Other question / write-in we got here is from Dave Portnoy, who's always here. Thank you, Dave. He says, hi, Matty and Paul. The update on Thief Simulator is that there is no update. New levels in the Power Wash Sim, so I played those while Thief Sim installed. All right, there we go. Shout out to Thief Sim. Yeah, we talked about that a lot last week.
I really need to jump on the simulator games because I feel like I'm missing out at this point.
I'm telling
everybody's hopping on.
I'm telling you, man, they're really good. Let's get into some call-ins, though, because we got some waiting for us here. And then we'll get into the news right afterwards. Let's see who is waiting for us anyway. We got plenty. Okay.
Oh, we got a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try Spooky Goose. I think we tried that last time, right? We never got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Spookies. Okay, Spooky Goose.
Yeah, there's literally fucking 3 Spookies. Hello, Spooky Goose. Can you hear us?
How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
We're doing good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I actually literally just walked in from work, so not bad at all.
Wow, perfect timing.
How was your day? Did you have a good one?
Oh yeah, no, it's been great. I actually just started up at a new location recently, so
congrats.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, what's your question for us this fine evening?
So, I wanted to talk to you guys about RE4 and particularly the remake.
Yes.
Just because I listened partially to your video, Matty.
Okay.
And inspired me to go back and play it because I usually play it once a year anyways.
I've heard that a lot from people. It's funny you mentioned that.
Oh man, it's like I think I've said it in the Discord before, and I think I've said talking to you, but it's my favorite game of all time, like bar none.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. But I wanted to get your input because I know, like in the beginning, I remembered you saying that you didn't really think the game needed a remake.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But I kind of want to get your opinion, like, because, you know, obviously at this point, it's pretty much all but confirmed that they are remaking it.
Yeah.
So with them doing it, like, what would you like to see them do to it to make it a genuine remake and not just like, hey, we're just doing this for money?
Paul, you want to go first? You got anything in mind, or shall I?
Well, I should probably put my stance out there that I think it could benefit from a remake, but I love the game as is. I recently played it for the first time too. So yeah, and I really, really loved it. It's like one of my favorite games I played this year. But what it could add from a remake, I don't know. See, I never played the original RE2, so I don't know what was new from like the right in the remake. obviously like it was all new, but I didn't know what was like additional content. I guess I hope that they probably want to preserve it, but I would like them to take like my least favorite area was the island at the end, and because it felt very shootery, and some people really liked it, but it's something that RE8 did as well that I didn't really like. So maybe if they sort of played around with the environments and made it more like the rest of the game, that would be like, something off the top of my head.
Okay.
For me, I think it's the way the story is delivered, because I mentioned this in the Retro Rebound video. For those who haven't checked it out, please give it a look, because it was a really fun video to make, going in, playing it. We'll be doing that format more in the future for games. That there are so many classics that I've actually missed that we decided to kind of keep doing that. So check it out for those who haven't, because we'll be doing more of that. With that said, I think it's the way the story is delivered that would need the most improvement of anything, because I thought that they had a pretty interesting perspective on how Leon's like low-key just slaying an entire village of people who have no control over themselves. They're technically undead because of the parasite, but it's still the morals of it are kind of gray and complex. I think it's subtle, so that makes it work. But also, I would love to see them take some of those memos that you read that build up like what Lewis is up to and sort of put them in the forefront. However, I think one of RE4's strengths, admittedly, I haven't played Ada's campaigns, but it's sort of the subtlety of that delivery. It's those openings there that are then filled in with actual gameplay and letting the player figure it out. So again, this is why I sit on the side of the fence of I don't know if I want a remake, because the way that 4 was made was so precise. Not that there isn't room for improvement. Like, I think the controls could feel a little bit better. I think that certain parts are claustrophobic in the worst way, not the best way. But yeah, when it comes to the story, I think that's the best way they can improve the game is maybe providing something that shows off Salazar and Sadler a little bit more beyond just intercoms, like them interacting with their legion or interacting with Leon in a unique way. That's something I'd probably want to see, just to bring that plot up a little bit more, because I think it's good. It's I think good if you're an enthusiast. It's not actually a well-told story. It reminds me of, in a way, Dark Souls. And it's the same way I kind of feel about how people like hype up Sonic Adventure Story, Soul. So it's like this idea of, when people read the item descriptions in Dark Souls, they go like, oh, this is a really good story, but it's like, you got to look a layer deep. Is it really a well-told story? Is it an interesting universe? Kind of get that same feeling there with RE4. It's like, this is really interesting, but you got to look that layer deeper. So that'd be my pick as to what they can improve beyond the controls.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the story, because I think of everything like, and I always get told by friends that I'm kind of biased towards it because it is my favorite game. But I do definitely think it needs that little bit of extra like love towards the story, and to bring out some more. Because I actually think, as funny as you said it, the like addition of like more Sadler and Salazar would make the game a lot better, and you get a little of that in Ada's campaign.
Okay, there you go. See, and that's what I was missing. So it could have. That's why again, I'm very hesitant to call for the remake, because number one, general knowledge, but I just felt the way it was told was still solid enough. I think it was just really the parts with Lewis, because he seemed more important than what the game actually displayed.
Yeah, for sure.
I was surprised with Lewis. I thought they were going to do so much more with him, but they really didn't, other than like, through the memos and stuff. And it kind of sucked because I liked his character. I thought he was funny. So yeah, that if they can introduce bringing him in more. I'm curious to see how they would handle the like Ashley with her following you around. I think that's something they could definitely improve on. Yeah, because part of me really liked it because it added like a new aspect to certain parts of the game, but it also felt almost like redundant. Like it didn't need to be there because it doesn't really serve any benefits. It's more of like a detriment. So if they sort of made it more like something like in Mass Effect, not Mass Effect, BioShock. I don't know why I said Mass Effect. BioShock Infinite. Like,
yes, that would be pretty good.
When she's following you around, she throws ammo at you. I don't know. Give her make her useful in some way. But maybe that's not what the vision is. So I don't know. But I think that'd be cool.
I think it's a really good idea. It's just like the reason I say don't play around with it is because while your idea makes a lot of sense, it's also I look at it from the perspective of what happens if now you make it too easy? Because I thought like Resident Evil 4 was a really fun challenge. It's like now, let's say she's chucking ammo at you, or she knows how to hide really well. Like it was frustrating when you accidentally shot her when she was getting carried away, but it was your fault, right? It was your fault.
I like that.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Like it felt like legitimate tension. There were times where she just needed to get the hell out of the way, but I feel like it kind of came with the territory. That system couldn't always be perfect. Where I feel like you risk ruining things more by changing them rather than just leaving them as is. So I'll be curious to see how they handle the remake. Of course, since it's, as you said, full speed ahead, I'm open to it. Go for it. See what happens.
For sure.
Because it's going to happen either way. And I don't think it's going to be bad. I just don't know if it'll outperform the original. That'll be really interesting to see how they do that.
For sure.
All right, Goose. Well, it's been great talking to you again. Thank you so much for calling in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me in, guys.
Of course. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Take care.
All right.
See
Peace
ya.
out. All right, let's see here. Who do we got next here?
A lot of spookies. You want to bring in Sean Mason? He didn't make it last time.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Is what's his name still in here? Goose. You can just disconnect.
I just moved him out. I forgot to do that.
You're good. Sean, hello. Can you hear us? Uh-oh, it's that vintage Sean step away.
Okay. All right. We're gonna bring in Spectral Property Manager, Paco. Paco hasn't been on since the first episode. I don't think
our initial episode.
Paco, welcome.
Paco, can you hear us? Are you deafened or? Oh, you know what? This is
Paco is not here. Okay. Do you want me to try Forest Horizons?
Yeah. Is that? Well, who we had? We had Volcano in there too. Drunk Volcano was the guy who like everyone was like really in the comments was like really big on because he was like, "What's up, pimps?" Let's see if we can get him in.
All right, he should be there. I'm sure he will be.
Yeah.
Welcome.
All right, let's see.
Scaring the shit out of me.
There we go. There we go.
What's up? He's got the drip on. Let's go.
Of course, I have to have an identity so you remember.
Yeah.
First thing before we get into the questions is, Matty, you did Kopi so dirty on your thumbnail. It looks like he pulled a all-nighter and then you woke him up from his bed and made him take that picture.
Look,
but
I just let Paul send me a selfie every time, and I just edit it, and that's all there is to it.
Matt always puts me like behind him, kind of peeking over his shoulder, you know.
Yeah, what I'll do a lot of the times is I'll send Kobe like a mock-up of our thumbnail, and then I'll like put him just behind like my left ear, like just peeking out, just to ego him a little bit.
How does this one look?
All right, so I have a short question and a semi-longer question. The short question is when you're getting a photo taken or like an ID, do you smile or do you do the I'm not gonna smile seriousness face?
It's so funny you bring that up because we just took a picture at an engagement party for one of my girlfriend's best friends, and the guys want to take a photo where you like fold your hands over like this and just straight face it. I'm sitting there like you can tell I'm like cracking a smile because I'm like this is whack, but I'm usually a cheeser. I smile pretty big in most photos because I feel that's how I look best that way. I don't know. When I'm trying to mean mug, I'm not intimidating, so I typically smile on them. Paul, what about you?
For me, if you're asking specifically for like IDs and stuff, I'm always like straight face, or I'll do like a little bit of a smile, but I always do like that little smirk because I think I look best that way. But the one time I tried to do like a full on smile, I'll never do it again because I tried it one time, and it was when I got my passport, and she's like, "You're not supposed to do that." I was like,
"Oh, I had that too. Too. Yeah, at the post office, I was getting my passport.
Yeah, exact same place I was getting mine done, and they're like, "You're not supposed to do that." I'm like, "Okay, all right." I'll never smile again.
I'll just be doom and gloom the whole time. Okay, so my second question is I've been stuck playing 2 games because I have no co-op games to play.
Okay,
I've been stuck grinding out Back 4 Blood, still not enjoying it, 20 hours in. And then Tarkov, but Tarkov's fun, but I want something new. So, a caveat for games that I don't like fighters or racers, mainly just because I suck at them.
Okay.
So and Matty, I know you're probably going to mention Resident Evil 5, but please don't.
Okay. Okay. So you just said co-op games, right? Like that's what
co-op. Yeah.
Good co-op
That
games.
takes Thief Simulator off the table. That's unfortunate. That was
I,
good.
I actually picked that up.
Okay.
Got like 6 hours into it.
There
Yeah.
we go. We love to hear that. A good co-op game. Okay, I'm gonna throw one out there. This is a wild card pick. This is not gonna be my official pick. This is gonna be a wild card pick. I'm gonna throw out there because some people do like it. Dead Space 3. I think the game really sucks, but there's a lot of people out there who like it as just a fun, reckless co-op ROM. So if you like the Dead Space core gameplay and you just want that in co-op with a really ass story, you can have that. That's a nice like 13-hour game. It's in Game Pass too. It's full co-op.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I do have PC Game Pass. So
There you go. So
just
there's,
want to
Alright.
let you know.
there's that.
So
I think
I
Paul's got the pick though. I think I know where we're
I
gonna go
got-
with this.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Because I don't think you do. So I got 2.
Oh.
All right, and I'm presenting you 2 because one of them is going to be much more relaxed, more chill. Hop on with your boys when you're tired. And the other one is pretty wild. So the first one we got is the original Dead Island. I don't know if you've
I
played Dead
love
Island.
that
1.
game.
Okay,
That game
well, there you go.
fucking smack.
Exactly. That's
I
a
love that
great.
game.
If you go into it not expecting a lot, and you go in thinking like, man, I just want to slash up some zombies with my boys, that's gonna be a good time. It's a little buggy, a lot buggy, but I think that some of the bugs have charm to it, and they can be really
I played
funny.
it back on the 360.
Yeah, me too. And there was all kinds of there was duplication glitches and
I
bugs
use
when
those,
you
yeah.
some weapons you could shoot your car while driving and go flying.
Mhm.
So I think they add a little bit of charm to it. But my other game, and you probably played this one as well, but it's Stardew Valley. Stardew
Oh,
Valley
yeah.
has great co-op. It's a ton of fun, very addicting. When I first ever played that game, before they even introduced co-op, I sunk days into it, just off the rip. It's if you haven't played Stardew Valley, which I'm assuming you have, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
I do have that game. I have played it a little bit co-op, and then I joined a buddy's world where he already did most of the stuff. So I was like,
Yeah, you have
well,
to
what am I
start.
supposed to do?
You have to start with someone. You
Yeah.
have to establish what kind of farm are we building here, and then yeah, it's a lot of fun. But Matt, I'm curious, what did you think I was going to recommend?
I thought you were gonna recommend It Takes Two, just because of
Oh,
yeah,
duh.
yeah, how
If
much
you
you
haven't,
love it.
I don't know why I didn't think of that one. It
Huh.
Takes Two. Yeah, that one. That's top of the list if you're looking for a go.
That game's great. I have played that one.
A good co-op game. That one is
yeah.
amazing.
The chat's making a suggestion on MMOs. I don't know where you stand on those, but it's usually the last one I suggest because they can be a little grindy, no matter what kind of MMO it is. But I play a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic when I'm not reviewing games, and I enjoy that one a lot because I think it's got really well told stories, and it's got your typical hotkey, hotbar gameplay, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's really well delivered. A lot of people love Final Fantasy. I'm a big RuneScape guy too. I haven't played that in years though, but shout out to that. Do you like MMOs? Do you think that would be a good fit for you?
Not really the biggest MMO guy. The only one that's recently caught my attention is New World, but I haven't really put the money into buying it yet or anything.
Yeah, there's certainly a number of co-op games coming to Game Pass or games that you could play in co-op, like Age of Empires 4. You could play co-op with a friend.
Wasteland 3 is pretty good.
Wasteland 3. I was going to shout that one out in a sec. Have you played Divinity then?
Oh,
No.
Okay, there you go.
I'm not
That's
the
it.
biggest isometric fan. But I guess
okay.
check that out.
okay. I have one more. Have you played Castle Crashers, the original?
A
There's
little bit. I can pick it back up.
If you pick it back up with honestly, if you just get 3 friends, if you can, that game's a blast. It's really funny, really funny. Castle
Yeah.
Crashers. Is
The
a good one.
challenges at the end of missions are always hilarious.
dude.
Because you really see who's on your side.
Oh yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I'm
course.
gonna head out.
All right. Our pleasure. We hope you
See
find a co-op game that appeals to you. And
Will do.
enjoy. All right, man. Thank you for calling in. All right.
All right,
There we go.
that was good. Love us some call-ins. I feel like they get
Absolutely.
better every episode. People
Yes.
are growing comfortable. They understand how long they should stay, what kind of questions they should ask. Not that there's certain questions you shouldn't ask, but I think it's sort of developing an identity. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, we're starting to get familiar with one another. People are getting
Mhm.
comfortable. They realize we're not as scary as we may seem.
Oh
So thank you for calling in, Volcano and Goose. We look forward to talking to the rest of you at the end of our news run here, where we have a lot to go over. One of them being our headlines, which is an MMO that leaked for Xbox. But beyond that, we just have a ton of leaks for Xbox that we need to go over in general. This came courtesy of Jez Corden. It was a series of Obsidian leaks. So originally he just detailed all the early Avowed gameplay that he had seen. And from there, he talked more on Xbox 2, a great show that I recommend to those who are Xbox fans out there, where he talked about how he saw The Outer Worlds 2. He saw Josh Sawyer's game, which is smaller in scale. It's more art-led. He said Outer Worlds 2 is looking tighter, like it plays a lot better. I remember he described to me this kind of Cloud City-like setting, which I don't think he included any reports, so there's a little bit of visualization for you. But the most interesting thing to really kickstart this is that Obsidian wishes to release a game every year for the next 7 years. And the release pattern would be Grounded 1.0 next year. That would be a finished product, which they then continue to add to. Then they would have Avowed in 2023 and whatever The Outer Worlds 2 is, plus Josh Sawyer's game in 2024. And maybe they'd split those up in some different way. But what do you think, starting off with Obsidian before we get into the rest, how do you feel about them really pumping out this many projects? Like, they're machines. They're constantly doing something.
How big is this Obsidian? Like, really, how big are they?
What's interesting is they're just taking, I mean, they've grown. I think they're, I want to say in like the 300s, but
Pretty big.
They've grown. And what's really neat is they're just taking these teams and dividing them up. Like, I saw a Jez report, and I was told that Avowed's around 100 people right now, I think. And The Outer Worlds 2 is about 70. Then you look at Grounded, that's like a 30-man team. You look at Sawyer's game, that's probably like a couple dozen people. We know Carrie Patel, who directed the Peril on Gorgon DLC. I actually interviewed her on my channel before The Outer Worlds came out, so if anyone wants to check that out, get a feel for her. She's directing her own game. There's another secret game that's being directed by Obsidian that someone found on a LinkedIn. So these are all just these small dozen-man to 30-man teams, and they're just sort of taking the resources Microsoft's pouring into them and making a ton of different games. I think the reason they're able to do that is probably because of Grounded and how well that did for them and how high quality it was when it came out. So Xbox was thinking, well, this is successful, it's a really popular game, and it was cheap to make, so why not?
If they're releasing games annually, the more I'm feeling about it is my expectations are going to be lower, which can be, better or worse for them. But I don't know. I can't think of a studio off the top of my head that releases annual games that constantly like, yep, this is a banger. This is a banger. This is a banger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no matter how it's divvied up. Yeah, you can only think of like Insomniac, who I think is in a very special position, mind you. Mm-hmm. I think they did, but it's really hard to tell beyond that.
Yeah, and it worries me a little bit. Although, like Josh Sawyer's game, he said it's smaller in scale. It's art led, less on gameplay mechanics. I'm assuming more so focused. Like one of those like experience type games you usually play once. So, depending on how large all these different projects are, I mean, Grounded was one of them. It's not done, but the whole framework is there. So they just have to add on to it and polish it. I don't know. Are they planning to release a game? And I might have missed this. You might have said this. Is it annually for a set amount of years or just?
Yeah, I think that the gauge I got from what Jez said and then what I was subsequently told was instead of like it being 7 games in 7 years, as in like 1 per year, you might see The Outer Worlds 2 release the same year that Josh Sawyer's game does. Something along those lines where they will double up, but you'll effectively see 7 within 7 is what they're aiming for, what they've sort of roadmapped internally, which I thought was really surprising. We're talking about a company that typically goes silent for long stints of time, but this had to have been in motion since The Outer Worlds 1 came out, because for that to be ready in 2024, they had absolutely started that right when the Outer Worlds 1 released. Like they immediately, there's LinkedIn's to prove it, there's reports to prove it, but yeah, they got to that right away, where when people saw that, they were probably thinking like 25, 26 is when we'd see that game, but it's a little bit more on the horizon. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw gameplay in 2023. Like I think it's that close.
I'm expecting to see it in gameplay in 2023. Yeah. I mean, it's a sequel, right? They already have the framework, just like I was saying with the bug game. I can't remember what it's called. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried, but I'm going in with lesser expectations. I'm mainly just excited for Avowed, honestly. I never finished Outer Worlds. It didn't really grab me, But everything we've seen about Avowed, especially the recent things we talked about last week, is super exciting. So that's the one I'm really looking forward to. Everything else, unless they've got some like secret Fallout game that they're working on, maybe, probably not.
Yeah,
but
right. You wish.
yeah,
We all do. Yeah, I that's the one thing that I find interesting is with all these projects, you have to wonder what they are toying with right now, and I wonder what could get shelved if they were handed a Fallout game. I'd be so shocked if Phil and his team did not have the foresight to be like, one of you two, being In Exile or Obsidian, needs to spearhead a Fallout game. Like, that is just. I don't know if it's happening, by the way. I'm not saying like I've heard anything, but I'm just saying I'd be shocked if it weren't a thing being planned out and discussed.
I'd say, yeah, it absolutely has to have been discussed at least once somewhere. I'm so confident in that because it's just like that series is just like in the water right now. I mean, you have there's a film series, or not film series, and a show coming out, right?
Yeah, in Amazon.
Other than that, you have 76 and the Pit DLC.
Yeah. And let's be honest, 76 has rebounded to some extent. It's a lot better than when it released. I almost said relaunched. When it released, but it's not. I don't think it's ever going to recover to the level where it's going to be like Destiny 2, where it's like, yeah, here we go, like another expansion. Like, it's just not going to ever get there.
No, it won't. It has its player base, and that's
exactly. And I don't know if it's going to grow beyond that. It's one of the more played Game Pass games, and I don't know how the microtransactions do. It's one of my frustrations with the games industry is I wish we had more access to numbers. We could see more, because I would be very curious to see how certain things were doing. I would love to analyze that stuff, see how 76 really lifts up Bethesda, or if it's just a product of like another company's success being shared in a pool of money where 76 may not be doing that well, but they're going to keep it around just because there's something to satiate Fallout fans. I just hope they do something with this, but Obsidian's very busy, and they'll continue to be busy, and I think there's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. It's just been interesting because someone pointed this out in chat. 6Abe said Fallout 76 definitely made people appreciate 4 more, and it's funny because 4 made people appreciate New Vegas more.
Exactly.
It's always been this retroactive thing where you have to wonder if Bethesda's tired of that and just of their Fallout brand constantly. The thing they release is being compared to the old thing, which is better. So
it's not a good look at all.
Yeah.
Like, not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jake said it best too. The initial grind in the beginning of 76 is tough. I agree. I'm working on a 2021 review for it. I've been playing it here and there for a while now, and yeah, the opening hours of that game to get your ammo, to originally when they had the tracking for the food and water, which would give you debuffs if you didn't stay on top of them. I mean, holy shit,
detrimental.
It was such a pain in the ass to play, man. It was such a pain.
That's the reason I canceled my pre-order, because it felt more like a chore than anything. And I really just wanted to walk around the world and like experience the Bethesda world building and environments, you know.
Yeah.
That's the only fun I really had with it. So it really sucks that it's kind of or it launched that way. I have to try it again sometime, because I know it's rebounded a lot, and I really want to with the Pit coming, because I love the Pit. Fallout 3's Pit DLC is great. So I'm gonna have to jump back into it eventually.
Yeah.
Where do you play it?
I have played about another 30 hours of it when I really look at it.
God.
What's the thing? I love Fallout, so going around the world is always fun for me. It's always just nice, but I also just didn't want to crap out like a BS review. Like, I wanted to really give it time. And by the way, this is 30 hours over multiple months. This is like we're talking a couple hours here, a couple hours there. Not consistently. And it's about the only dosages I can take it in, because once it gets too much, you start to pile on the miscellaneous quests. It starts to get frustrating, and all this rambling leads to just the idea that they need a new Fallout game. I'm sorry, but 76 legs are just so fragile and weak, it cannot hold up the license for much longer.
Or even just remake 3 and or New Vegas.
Yeah,
I feel like
that'll
satiate fans a lot. They could really do that.
It would 100% be enough. Would they ask for more afterwards? Yes, but would that be enough for the time being if they put some new little tweaks in there and changed how it played a little bit, like Fallout 3 played like Fallout 4? Oh my God, yeah,
that'd be massive.
Yeah, people would be all over that. Look at the longevity in the modding community. Like, if you give them a new set of tools, they'll be all over it. They'll keep that game alive for a decade.
I was thinking the same thing. They need to do something with that license, because it's very lucrative. People love Fallout, and I know Microsoft isn't just sitting there doing nothing. I'm sure they're talking about it. I'm like so convinced. I know nothing, but I know something. Like,
Yeah.
something has to be happening.
Your hunch is got to be correct. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they because here's the thing. At the end of the day, they're a business, and they would be a foolish business to not figure out like, okay, Bethesda, what can we do with this, with probably the most popular license we acquired amongst all of them? Like when I know this is such like high level speculation, but when Phil acquired, or I'm sorry, Phil, when Xbox acquired Bethesda, Phil changed his profile picture for a while to the Vault Boy. And the reason he did that was not because like, oh, we're working on a Fallout game. It's because Fallout's the most popular brand underneath Bethesda, without a shadow of a doubt.
Or Elder Scrolls.
I think
One of the
Fallout's
two.
more popular right now. And
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. And Skyrim's legendary, right? But like I think Fallout as a whole, since 3, is more popular.
Yeah. There's
it
been
just-
more games and stuff.
Yeah, I think that the hype for that series knows no bounds. Don't get me wrong. When Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and comes around, even, it's going to blow anything else they've done out of the water. That's for sure. But when it comes to Fallout and when they do something new, you know, again, we'll see the power of the brand that it has. I mean, that's the thing is Fallout 4 set so many records for that company, and that's why they did 76, because they were like, well, let's monetize this thing, and it didn't work out. So I feel like, you know, Phil knows, his team knows that there's a lot of money in that brand. And with the show, by the way, we're seeing a lot of companies get into TV after The Witcher 3 because the Witcher Netflix series bumped up that game so much in player count that's why you're seeing Netflix go out and get Night School Studio, and they're going to keep acquiring little teams and starting to build shows that connect to them because you can see how it elevates the medium. So when you got a show already in production, you've acquired the license, you're going to want to have a game come out eventually that benefits from the reinvigoration of that IP, I think, through the television series. If it's good. If it sucks, then that's going to be another frustrating blow to the license, but we'll see in due time. Other than that, on Xbox news, we have a Finnish studio named Mainframe, which is working on a cloud-native, massively multiplayer online adventure for Xbox Game Studios. This comes from VentureBeat. If you have been watching videos this week, you'll know that Jez Corden had reported this amongst all his other Obsidian info. I wanted to talk about it here because all we knew is that Mainframe was working on something that was a cloud-based game for Xbox. And so, obviously, Jez confirmed it. Jeff had been able to separately confirm it. And here's the write-up from VentureBeat. Mainframe's game goes by the working title PAX Day, and it's something that people on the Xbox team are excited about for multiple reasons. Cloud native here means that players can access the game through any device. The studio is exploring potential gameplay mechanics that can work only in a game that exists primarily on a remote server. One key concept, however, is that mechanics scale in the terms of complexity. While anyone can do anything in PAX Day on any device, certain tasks will make more sense on where you are playing. So if you're on your phone at work, you can open up the game and quickly do some crafting or resource farming. Then when you get home to your PC or console, you can take on some of the more complex missions like raids. But key Xbox figures are also excited about PAX Day because of its value in highlighting hurdles with cloud-based development. The hope among those at Microsoft is that PAX Day can create an opportunity to set up best practices for this kind of game, and then other studios can run that same playbook in the future. In particular, Xbox is hoping to use those lessons with Hideo Kojima's potential upcoming Xbox game. Kojima and Xbox are still finalizing a deal, but the Xbox team is lining up resources to aid the renowned Japanese developer. So, when you combine that with their hiring of Kim Swift to oversee cloud games and to work with Kojima on his project, this is a pretty big initiative, and now they're working on an MMO for it. And I think they're striking at the right time. When you saw the numbers for New World, I guarantee a bunch of people were like, we got to make an MMO. Like, the people are hungry for new MMOs. So Xbox can be striking at the right time, especially because you could grind outside of being on your PC. What do you think of this?
Well, I play a lot of Genshin Impact, and I think the ability to play anywhere is really, really big. I remember when I was in Canada, I didn't have access to my PS5 or my PC, but I gotta stay on the Genshin grind. I gotta get my daily Primo gems. I gotta get my quest done. So the ability to pop open my phone, I had my Xbox controller with me. The ability to play that game on my Xbox controller on my phone was exceptional. Now, the one thing I'm a little concerned about with this is it a cloud-based game in the sense that like are you streaming it? I might be
Yeah, that's the interesting part that I don't think many of us are going to understand for some time here, because Jeff writes, cloud native here means the player can access the game through any device. The studio is exploring potential gameplay mechanics that can only work in a game that exists primarily on a remote server. So
Scary.
My thought process here is you can download it from the server, but
I hope
it's
so.
going to be existing on that server. And what that brings is the ability to tap in through your phone or your iPad or a tablet of any kind, of course, and then your PC. I wonder if this also connects to, we've seen them set up cloud streaming for their consoles. If this also means Xbox, it's the consoles themselves, and it's not just exclusive and locked to PC. But yeah, I agree. I'm always hesitant about this cloud future, because our best example right now is really Microsoft Flight Simulator, where you see with that game that they were doing it to generate the world. And it makes a lot more sense. Like, you see it and understand it, but you could still just download it. So I'm assuming that this will function the same way. I'd be very shocked if they said this is a streamable only title. I would not worry about that personally.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's sort of like a blend, just like Flight Simulator. But so in that case, right, I think it creates like an interesting game, because Genshin Impact is really, really popular. And personally, I think a lot of its popularity comes from the fact that you can play it on your phone. A huge portion of the game's player base is on mobile. And I think Genshin Impact was the top grossing mobile game last year, I think.
Right.
So there's something like it was like top grossing, and that game makes
made a lot of money.
insane amount of money. Yeah. So if, like you said, they were looking, you're assuming these companies are looking at a new world, and they're like, oh, we got to make an MMO. I think someone, and this might be like one of those companies, is going to be looking at Genshin Impact and say, hey, we got to do something like that, because that accessibility to play at any device. Like, I've noticed a lot of Genshin Impact's player base are people who don't really own consoles, who don't own like gaming computers, but they can still hop into Genshin and play. I've met people like that. So, yeah, I do think, and actually it introduces them to consoles too, or like getting a gaming computer or whatever. So, I think it's a cool idea, and I'm interested to see where it goes, and I think it will do well.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really excellent perspective there that we wouldn't have considered otherwise, which is the impact of, well, pardon the pun, but Genshin Impact, right? Is the money it made, and how Xbox definitely laid out this cloud infrastructure many years prior, where it's not really reactionary, but it's you could see they foresaw that, and the money it brings when your game is available anywhere, especially when we're talking more live service. We're talking about a game that you can get, obviously it's going to be an MMO or a subscription fee or microtransactions, something like that. But for me personally, just on the outside, I'm excited at the idea of Xbox doing an exclusive MMO. I think that there needs to be way more on the market, because it's such a slim selection, because there's such long-term games. Elder Scrolls Online came out in 2014. I play SWTOR, but that came out in 2011. The reason that people are going to New World, the reason people go to New World is because it's just a fucking new thing. Like, I'm not saying it's a good game or a bad game. It looks really interesting, but it's because it's new. There's hardly any new things, and I think a reason that people flock to Final Fantasy 14 is because it's new, or it's releasing consistently big new things. I understand how long term these games are, but I think Xbox will be striking at just the right time with this one. I don't know when it's coming around at all, but I think when it does arrive, we're going to be looking at a pretty potentially successful game, just because of the state of the market, where you can't just snap an MMO into existence. When you combine that with ZeniMax Online Studios is also working on their own new MMO beyond Elder Scrolls Online, where I think this market's about to be refreshed, and Xbox has got two big ones now on the way. So they have the chance to really capitalize here. And especially if ZeniMax is going to use the cloud too. We don't know about that. That's just speculation, but we know at least one of them is. So I would be shocked if the other wasn't. I'm going to be really, really keen to see what they're doing with both of those. But beyond that, sorry, go on. I cut you off. No,
it's just like what you said when you were talking about people like flock to Final Fantasy 14. Sorry, I have like something in my throat.
I was trying to laugh mid-sentence because all I'm talking about, you're like, ugh.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, get a good like get it in here.
Yeah. No, I already did. It's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, World of Warcraft was a game a lot of people were like addicted to for years and years and years and years. But I think recently, like it's just sort of like dried out for a lot of people, and they're not adding substantial content and all that. And a lot of those people went to Final Fantasy 14. So I'm sure they'll be there for a while. They have a huge expansion coming out. What is it, next month? And
yeah, Endwalker or something like that.
Endwalker.
Yeah, I don't know when it comes out, to be honest.
I think it's next month. I think because our friend Rob is all about that.
Yeah,
he was talking about it. So yeah, I hope we see people capitalizing. I'm not a big MMO guy. I never really have been. When I was younger, I played MMOs, but I played like little baby MMOs. Like I don't know if anyone knows Toontown, but that was like Toontown was like my shit when I was young. So
young.
I can't. Yeah. But I can't find myself investing a lot of time in them unless they're really good. But Final Fantasy 14 was a lot of fun. It's just it takes so long.
Oh, I'll put it out there. It was not fun.
I had fun with it.
I did not have fun with it.
I had fun. I just wanted to get to the good story. I thought the gameplay was fun, but the story was so uninteresting. And it's because we're playing the what is it? What's the first like chapter of that game called? Like the beginning.
Reborn.
Like, A Realm Reborn, yes. That's what we were playing. And it was just so like everybody kept saying, oh, you gotta get to like 100 hours, then you get to the good stuff. Like, no, I'm okay. I'll play something else.
Pass.
But the one time I can get on an MMO is if the game comes out and I jump on like when it releases. Because that's how I got into Genshin. I feel like if I got into Genshin now in its current state with all that stuff I'd have to catch up on, all those characters I would have missed out on from like gachas that I really want, I don't think I could get into it. So
right.
New MMOs coming out, new opportunities for me to possibly get addicted. We'll see.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get into New World, but I held off because I already have enough on my plate where I would have dropped it way too quickly. Plus, it definitely had some kinks to iron out, and so this game will be no different. By the way, for those who are wondering, just because it's on the cloud, it will come out. It will have its issues. I don't know a single MMO that's ever dropped and been in a really remarkable state. I remember Elder Scrolls Online. It took a year. They needed to do Tamriel Unlimited. Like a lot of people love ESO now. I love ESO, but ESO had a horrible reputation for a while. It wasn't until like 2016 that they really started to turn things around, which was much further after Tamriel Unlimited. So kudos to Bethesda for sticking with it. I think it's why they're hanging on to 76 a little bit longer, because we were talking about it earlier. I thought it was worth mentioning that they're probably still hoping for some type of turnaround, but I think those days are far beyond them. So a lot happening on the Xbox front. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about PlayStation. They certainly made a lot of noise this week. We have to talk about Uncharted first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, they dropped the movie trailer, and it's there, all right. It's there. You got Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, young Nathan Drake. You got Mark Wahlberg as Sully. How are we feeling about this one?
It's just that same situation with the Mario movie where it's like a Hollywood casting. You have that industry. It's like these are safe picks. People like these people or these actors, and they will get a lot of attention in the box office because like, oh look, Tom Holland, that's Spider-Man. He's in Uncharted. Like I feel like they're trying to draw people in who might not play Uncharted.
Yeah,
I think that's like their plan.
Yeah,
because
but like Mark Wahlberg. Actually, someone just said in chat, so it's funny. Ruben said it, but like. Mark Wahlberg had no facial hair. I'm like, that's like a Sully staple, man. Like, I'm not even an Uncharted fan. Like, I know it's going to sound bad coming off an Xbox-led podcast here where we had like it as our headline. But like, I don't even like Uncharted that much. And even I'm like, what's happening here? This looks really bad, in my opinion. But sorry, I cut you off. Go on.
No, I mean, I don't really have much to say about it other than like it's that Hollywood industry. And I'm not really looking forward to it. The trailer looked very mid to me. It doesn't. I'm not expecting it to be like this garbage movie, but I did notice that there were scenes from the third game.
Yeah, like
movie.
the foxes leaping into the ship.
Yeah, in the plane. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I've never actually played Uncharted, so maybe my take is like totally not there. But I from what I can understand, like Tom Holland really doesn't fit the role. So I just don't like. Is it going to be like the first 3 movies? Is it going to be all of them, or sorry, games in like one movie? I don't know. I'm not excited for it, and I don't have hope for it. But
yeah,
this casting is really weird.
Yeah, the casting's not good. I think otherwise it probably would have not disruptive. It was like an all right trailer, but when I saw it, I went,
Yeah, it was like,
I'm okay. You know, we've
yeah.
enjoyed a nice little renaissance of like tie-in things or popular brands in gaming doing well in entertainment, and this feels like it's got that similar feeling that many years ago when there were spin-offs and tie-ins dropping, that it's like, you know what, this shouldn't exist right now. So I don't have many more thoughts on that other than Tom Holland is not my Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right. More importantly, on the PlayStation front, let's talk about State of Play. So they announced that today, Friday, as we record this episode, October 27th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time is when you can check this one out. They confirmed it's third-party releases only, heading to PS4 and PS5. It's going to be about 20 minutes long, and some of these will be previously announced games, so we're going to get some updates, and a few reveals will be there as well. We're going to spitball on this one because, again, this is interesting. As we said at the top of the show, Xbox is doing an anniversary event. I'm sure there will be some announcements there of some kind. They said no new game reveals, but I'm sure there will be old ones that we could talk about, like back compat and all that stuff. But then you've got this State of Play, and we've got the Game Awards all the way tucked in the back of December, where I'm wondering, again, if this is the product of so many games being backlogged in development because of COVID that we're just going to get destroyed with announcements, where it's going to be hard to, you really got to pick and choose what you want to play. But what are you expecting? I don't know if that even be the right word, because this sort of came out of left field. I thought we were done with events until the Game Awards, but do you have anything in mind that maybe you would want to see for this one that you could just throw out there as a name?
I'm expecting to see Call of Duty. That's like the only thing. Oh, and maybe Grand Theft Auto. Those two I'm expecting to see, but I don't. Grand Theft Auto 5, by the way. I should, in case someone's like, GTA 6 isn't coming out. Yeah. Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PS5. The fourth time or third time they've re-released that game. But what I'd want to see, Bloodborne, please. I would love it, even if like Bluepoint is working on Bloodborne right now. If that's the case, just tell us. Like, just let us be excited, you know? Or I don't know, like they're gonna do something with Bloodborne. I think that's obvious, but the question is, what are we getting? A remake? Are we getting a 60 frames patch? I feel like we're not, because we would have already had that by now. Are we getting a sequel? I want them to say something about that. I don't care if it's years out. I think it's like, please just give us some information on that. Wild card picks. Give me Silent Hill, and give me Ape Escape remakes. Thank you. That's all. That's all I want. Some Ape Escape.
Yeah, man. You put it well, because when you really look at it, there's a lot of things that have been dated. They have gameplay on them. You look at, because they said third party, so you're not going to see Horizon, even though we haven't seen that in a while, and it's coming out in just a short number of months. Sifu's dated for February, so maybe we'll see that again. I feel like that's always at State of Play, just to remind people it exists. And so that I really just look at it and go, I don't know what they're going to show with this one. Because they don't even specify like, oh, it's for 2021 games. Like, so I'm thinking, again, like Forspoken will likely be there. I think that's one that you could probably expect, because they seem to be marketing that one heavily. But other than that, maybe God of War on PC, show some full gameplay of that.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we'll see that. Maybe we'll get more games coming to PC.
Yeah, right. Like, again, you know, does that factor under first party or third party? Because Sony Santa Monica's name was on the announcement of God of War on PC, but if someone else is handling it, but they bought Nixxes, so that would be under their brand personally. So it's just a real kind of blindside announcement, which I think is a good thing, because maybe we get, like, in my eyes, I find it very strange that KOTOR is only coming to Switch, for example. Do they finally announce here, like, hey, we're bringing the port to PlayStation as well? Because obviously Xbox isn't going to do it because they already have it on back compat. So are you going to bring it to PlayStation? Questions like that could be answered there, but I don't know if there's anything significant to expect here, because State of Play typically underdelivers. This could age horribly, by the way, but to me, State of Play typically underdelivers. Like, you just walk away going, all right, I got like one thing I thought was pretty cool. That was nice, I guess.
The last one was amazing, though.
The showcase was good, but that wasn't even State of Play. Yeah, that was just a showcase. Yeah, no, you're good, because it's easy to mix it up because they have so many names for shit nowadays.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing show. They showed so much.
Maybe they show off the trilogy definitive edition for GTA, because they have GTA 3 in PS Now day one, or is it day one? No, I'm sorry, it's in December. it'll be
Did you
available
see
there.
Did you see the footage today or the screenshots from it?
Yeah, it looks solid.
I actually really dig how they're doing it. Instead of like full blown, making the graphics look super realistic. I didn't expect them to do that, but they're kind of like it almost looks. I saw someone say on Twitter, and I kind of agreed. It almost looks like a Roblox because you know how it's like. I don't want to say polygonal, but there's not a lot of roundness to a lot of the characters and stuff. Maybe in I guess Vice City it's like that. Not so much San Andreas,
Right.
but I kind of dig it. Like it looks like I'm playing an emulated game where I upscaled the graphics myself and put it in 4K or 60 frames or whatever. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, I was just looking at like upcoming games, and I'm wondering about state of play. Final Fantasy 16, we have not seen a thing on.
I think we'll see. I'm not going to say we will see that, but sometime soon, somewhere, we're going to hear about it again.
I feel like it's got to get revealed again, if you will, because it's been so long.
It has been.
We just had fandom, so we saw Gotham Knights moving along nicely. Do we finally get a trailer for that? That's not just a story trailer, because we saw that, but I'm just like poking around at games, and I feel like you might want to dive into the March bag a little bit here. The March bag. Oh, here's one, dude. Hogwarts Legacy. Come on, I think it's time.
Yeah,
I think
Hogleg. This is a random one I just thought of. Do you know if Chocobo Racing is exclusive to the Switch?
I can check that right now.
Because I feel like that
GX.
GX or GT or whatever, I could see that coming. A little showcase there. But it might be exclusive. But I don't know if there's ever been an exclusive Final Fantasy game on the Switch, as far as I'm concerned. Because even what's the one that came out? Even the Pocket Edition, is that on the Switch? That's on mobile. And World of Final Fantasy, that one's on.
Right now it says only Switch, by the way, for Chocobo GP, which I find very interesting, especially because it's like very Final Fantasy IX inspired, and we had those rumors about Final Fantasy IX remake where you're like,
and a TV show, right?
Yeah, but like it's supposed to be kid friendly when Final Fantasy IX is like one of the most mature Final Fantasy stories. Where I'm like, what are you guys gonna do at the end? Pretty much, like you're just gonna scrap it.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna put my money on Hogwarts Legacy. I think it's time. I think it's very much time for that one. So that's where I'm going.
Hogleg could very well be there.
Well, we'll see in just next week. We'll talk about it on this show. So stay tuned for episode 6. All right. Next bit of news, one of our headlines, Elden Ring has been delayed. There's a network test to November 12th to the 14th, so we can get our hands on the opening hours of the game. This game was delayed due to the depth and strategic freedom of the game exceeding initial expectations. So it's moved from January to February, just a month. Is there any cause for concern here for you, Paul?
I don't know. I've recently within the last 2 years started playing FromSoft games. So I don't have like an extensive I'm waiting for this release. You know what I mean? When you're waiting for a game, do they delay their games frequently? Is this like been something they've done before? Is something I'd want to look at? And then another thing is this network test that they're doing. I wonder if this was planned beforehand, or if they want to make sure everything is good for the co-op and everything else. So that's why they're letting people play. Maybe that's like what the extra month is for. But I don't know. It's a little concerning. It's a little concerning to me because I don't want to see it get delayed again. But I think it could if it already got delayed just like 1 month. I always think when something gets pushed back a month, they're really like itching for time. You know what I mean? Like
to me, it's usually a little more. I feel a little bit more confident when I hear a month. It's like, okay, you just need to tinker on some things. Like I feel a little bit more comfortable because if they were to delay it and go, let's say Elden Ring got delayed, and instead of them saying February 25th, 2022, they said, oh, it's coming spring 2022. They just kind of leave that window vague. Mm-hmm. That feels to me like, oh boy, you don't even know when now. Like, isn't this what? And this was supposed to come out in January. So to me, just 1 month shows that it's there, it's done, it's good to go. They just need an extra month, and that made them feel a little bit more comfortable with that release. I'm really excited for the network test though, because I think that's going to time out well. Normally the network test, it's such a weird name because it's like, I don't even know if the online component matters most to people for their network test. But normally it's not used for marketing. I remember like the Dark Souls 2 network test was just like a small area where people were fighting each other a ton. But like Elden Ring, it seems to be a much more expansive thing coming up, which is smart because people need to know, hey, this game's all right. It's going to be just fine. I feel really confident with this one. So I'm personally not concerned.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of you because I don't really know. I don't think there's been a game besides Dark Souls 2 recently that they've released that has like had a bad launch and just not very good. So I'm confident.
I was doing a little bit of research, and November 12th, 2014, Bloodborne's release date was moved to March 2015, which is interesting, right? It was supposed to launch February, but it launched in March. And in my opinion, Bloodborne was the best FromSoft game. So they took an extra month. They sharpened it up. The only issue with Bloodborne, beyond it being 30 FPS, which I don't think back then was a huge deal at the time as it is now with new-gen consoles, was that one area when you exited the tower, it just dropped in frames heavily. For those who have played, you'll know what I'm talking about. But beyond that, it was honestly a really well-made game. So I see this, and then I compare and contrast these two stories and think to myself, well, I think it's going to be all right. So honestly, for me, not much room for concern here. I'm feeling good about it.
I'm with you there.
Fuck yeah. All right. We're moving along pretty steadily here. Let's tap into CD Projekt Red, who has pushed back the next-gen releases of The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. And in the same week, they acquired the Molasses Flood, who's responsible for Drake Hollow and Flame in the Flood. So, Paul, how are you feeling about these delays? They talked about in a investors call, they were thinking about already delaying The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk's next-gen versions. The Witcher 3 got moved pretty deep into like spring 2022, where Cyberpunk is coming much earlier. So, again, this is another way to speak on the idea that where was Cyberpunk's next-gen version at when they said it was going to be ready much closer to launch? What were they thinking if the game was really received well from fans? But where are you at with their decision on the release plans for next-gen versions?
For me, I'm not in a rush to play either. I do want to pick up The Witcher 3, so when they eventually release that the next-gen version, I'm going to play it. But I want them to take their time because they have to get this right. You know what I mean? After such a detrimental blow that was Cyberpunk 2077, they need to get something right here. So if they keep pushing it back to make sure, like, we need to make sure we satisfy our fans, I think that's super important. But do you think it's concerning that they're pushing it back, or are you supportive of it?
Yeah, it's interesting. For those who need specific dates, Cyberpunk's upgraded version will come Q1 2022, while Witcher 3 will have to wait until Q2 2022. And reminder that these were supposed to launch at the end of this year. So I would have thought they probably would have launched at the end of this year if it were not for the release of Cyberpunk. So for me, it shows that, okay, we understand and we're going to take our time with it. Cyberpunk is a really interesting situation because they dropped like 3 free pieces of DLC, which was like a jacket, a car, and like this just stupid bullshit. And they were like, yeah, we're going to see you later for new content. Nothing new came out. No real significant patches dropped. They just sort of disappeared after that because a lot of people were like, my response then was just shut up and come back when the game is ready because people do not care right now. And when you come back, put it on Game Pass so people can see what you're talking about because no one's going to spend money on your game right now. Go get your bag from Xbox because they'll happily take you. You already know it's going to happen. And I think that's what they're going to do. So to me, I like Cyberpunk a lot. Like I enjoyed its story and its world more than The Witcher, to be honest with you, which I know is a hot take, but that's not to say The Witcher 3 is bad. I thought The Witcher 3 was the gold standard for modern RPGs and its design and its attention to detail and its choices. Just I think Cyberpunk's gameplay style and its universe spoke to me more and my taste more. But you know, I know my tastes don't line up with everyone else's. And when it comes to Cyberpunk, I'm not going to sit here and encourage you and be like, yeah, things are going to be okay because this game that was supposed to have, by the way, if you remember its next-gen calendars, had put this version out at, I want to say, the middle end of 2021. And it has now been moved into the vague window of Q1 2022. I talked about this in a video on how CD Projekt Red really fucked themselves over here. Because if they delayed it and they sat on it longer, it would have benefited them more in the long run. Because now people are upset with CD Projekt Red. They're upset with Cyberpunk. And they've pushed themselves so much into a corner that when they finally drop the next-gen version, that may be what everyone's been waiting for, you're going against new experiences. You're going against Elden Ring, maybe. You're going against Horizon Forbidden West, maybe. And that's a problem because when Cyberpunk was coming out, it was at a moment where we really had, like, when the way it was marketed to us, we hadn't really seen anything like this before. A large open world, the script size was immense. They had the Hollywood actor. You know, they had so much going for it. And it just, again, felt like something unlike what we had seen before. The hype was out of this world, so much so that the game was in a profitable state before release because of the pre-orders. So you can't tell me it wasn't. And now when they're finally going to deliver, it's going to be at a time where people are going to be busy, right? Busy with a ton of new stuff coming out. Not even just holiday busy, right? We're talking about next-gen games. We're talking about big PlayStation exclusives. And then there's Cyberpunk again. I kind of gave you a chance already. You jerked me around too much. They really should have just sat on it because in the long run, they're probably thinking to themselves, well, we got to get it out now. We got to get it out now. But if they sat on it, yeah, there would have been upset fans. Where is this game? What's happening? But when it finally came out, if they delivered, that would have been the only story to tell. It delivered.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's a good point. It seems like they're definitely crumbling a little bit under the pressure of their fan base. And I think there's, I was going to say I respect it, but I understand it because they, like you said, they made their money and then some with pre-orders, but then so many people were trying to return the game and they were, openly accepting pre-orders, and PlayStation delisted the game off their store. So it's a very rocky situation, and I imagine they don't really. I think they're kind of running around with they're like a chicken running around with its head off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't really know if they know what they're doing. So it'll be really interesting to see how they handle it.
And they have to trust their audience to come back. Like that's all they can do is just make something good and hope that they come back. Clearly they have money because as we'll talk about momentarily, they bought a new studio, but yeah, they've really put themselves in an awkward position that they made some mega short-term games, but it didn't matter. It really didn't because now when you're finally delivering the thing that the developers worked very hard on, it's just not going to be there, right? Like I don't think the audience is going to be there in spades like they once were ready to be.
Yeah, but with this new, well, you'll take it away and talk about it.
No, you can go for it.
The other, no, because you'll read like the thing and everything. But with the new news coming out, it kind of decredits what I just said about them running around with their heads off. You know what I mean? Because this is relatively big, especially with a little detail at the end. But I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do that. So, like I said, they acquired Molasses Flood. This may not seem significant at face value, but CD Projekt Red, this is the second studio they've acquired this year, too. Beyond that, let's read the entire press release. It says CD Projekt announces the acquisition of U.S.-based developer The Molasses Flood. Founded in Boston in 2014 by BioShock, Halo, and Guitar Hero and Rock Band series veterans, The Molasses Flood is known for survival and base-building games, Flame the Flood, and Drake Hollow. Quote, we're always on the lookout for teams who make games with heart, end quote. Adam Kaczynski, president and joint CEO, CD Projekt said. Quote, the Molasses Flood shares our passion for video game development. They're experienced, quality-oriented, and have great technological insight. I'm convinced they'll bring a lot of talent and determination to their group, end quote. Now, all this might sound like, whatever, but we keep reading. Quote, from the inception of the Molasses Flood, it was our goal to create games that touch and inspire people, said Forrest Dowling, studio head of Molasses Flood. When CD Projekt approached us about the possibility of working together, we saw an incredible opportunity to reach a much wider audience through a collaboration with the company we love, creating games in the worlds we love. We could not be more excited to continue our mission with the support of CD Projekt and their incredibly talented teams, end quote. Here's the big one. The Molasses Flood will be working in close cooperation with CD Projekt Red, but will keep their current identity and will not be merged with existing teams. The studio will be working on its own ambitious projects, which is based on one of CD Projekt Red's IPs. Details about this project will be announced in the future. They only got 2 IP, Paul.
Yeah.
They only got 2.
Which one which one is it going to be? What are you thinking?
I think it's The Witcher. The reason I say I think it's The Witcher is because they canceled the Cyberpunk spin-off with the multiplayer, and I think internally, before they even made this acquisition, they thought to themselves, okay, this game isn't ready yet for spin-offs. Like, they did Thronebreaker, Witcher Tales for Witcher 3, and like that was excellent. But Witcher 3 was also at such a mighty pedestal that you could sell Thronebreaker to someone just based off that universe alone. I don't think Cyberpunk's there yet, so I think this has to be a Witcher spin-off. A little speculation here. I was looking at some of the replies from CD Projekt Red and some of their employees congratulating the studio head and the studio team. They were all using Witcher gifs. Just saying. There was something a little fishy about that one.
Yeah, I feel like that's like definitely the safer answer. The bigger IP, people will probably be more interested in it. They'll bring in more people from maybe fans who had lost hope after Cyberpunk. Maybe those fans are going to come back with this game, whatever it may be. But they're working on their own. So they're not merging with anyone, which I think is always good when you acquire a studio.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you step on their toes. You want them to make games for you. You want to be at the head. You want to be, commanding them, but you want to let them work at their pace, how they work. Let them do what they do best. So, contrary to the news beforehand, I think this is very good for CD Projekt Red. And I think we're gonna see something interesting. But let's keep going with it being The Witcher, right? What do you think it's going to be then? Is it going to be like a castle building? Like, we have the card game for The Witcher, which a lot of people love. You like it, right? I think it's called Thronebreaker.
Thronebreaker's great. Yeah.
And,
with this one, it's interesting that they pointed out that they made like survival games, base building games, which again, I think only works in The Witcher's universe. I don't know where you do base building unless it's like a faction wars thing in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I don't know where you do survival mechanics in this like neo-futuristic society where everything's available at your fingertips. So I don't know why I was thinking of Don't Starve, but The Witcher. Like, I don't know why that kept coming to mind for me.
Interesting.
Right?
That is very interesting.
I don't know why. And I don't even like Don't Starve, but that was like the image that came to my mind where I thought, like, I could see like this very artsy take in the Witcher universe that has survival mechanics.
That. I would love an artsier take.
Yeah, I think that, because that's the thing, is they're trying to make The Witcher more appealing. They did Monster Hunter or whatever it's called on the phones. They did Thronebreaker, which is this sort of niche take on Gwent, which was designed to be their own version of Hearthstone. Then you've got the big open world RPG. So I'm like, what is a thing that could broaden what The Witcher does beyond, of course, the Netflix series, which they've seen success in? And I'm like, yeah, do something kind of out there with it now. You've seen how much their team has benefited from an old game within the launch of the Netflix series. What if when season 2 drops that this new game comes out, do people flock to that? I would be shocked if they didn't synchronize the releases. Someone said an RTS Witcher, I'd buy it. That'd be also sick. Like, I would love to see that. So there's a lot of routes they could take with this one. I think we'll be surprised by it, pleasantly so, because they're saying that the way I'm reading this press release is, here's an influx of cash. We own you now, but you're going to do your thing. And that's what you always want with a studio acquisition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Good news.
Exciting.
Yeah. These
bad news, good news.
I know, right? So it's an up and down roller coaster type of week.
Yeah, imagine the people working there. Like, the morale is just going crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of roller coasters, now the cart just flies off the track here for PlayStation fans because God of War is coming to PC. It's going to have 4K resolution. It's going to have unlocked frame rates. This is going to be arriving January 14th, 2022. How are we feeling about this one, Paul?
I don't have much to say other than I'm glad they're doing this. It's interesting. I wonder do you think like every single PlayStation exclusive game will eventually come to PC? I'm starting to feel like that's sort of the inevitable fate for all of these games. It's like, okay, they had to run as an exclusive. Let's throw them on PC, because at the end of the day, what are they losing out on doing that? No one's buying their, like, people who are buying consoles to play these games have already purchased their consoles. People who have played the games on the consoles have already done it. And sometimes in the case of God of War, it's free for PlayStation Plus subscribers, right?
Right.
So this is only an opportunity to make money.
Yeah, And
So-
it's been a 3-year gap. At that point, almost 4 when you really look at it, where they've made all the money they can off of God of War, and it's been long enough where people will double dip if they already own the game, and if they don't, you're catching a new audience.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, when you look at the announcement of KOTOR Remake and Uncharted even coming to PC, I can practically guarantee The Last of Us will come to PC. I'll be interested to see if Spider-Man comes to PC, because Disney would be involved there, and Disney and mods never typically work well together. But it'll be really interesting to see how that works. But when Jim Ryan said a couple of weeks ago, it greatly frustrates him that right now the peak is like tens of millions for PlayStation exclusives, and he wants to reach hundreds of millions, that there's really only one way you start doing that, and that's PC, of course. And so God of War coming to PC should be of no surprise to people. Don't worry, your PlayStation got a nice 3 to 4 years of mileage while it was on there. So you got your console purchase was justified. It doesn't have to be there forever, but you got it 3 to 4 years ahead of a market. I don't know how much more you want at that point in time. Granted, I'm a little biased because I'm coming from the standpoint of someone who plays a lot of Xbox, so everything that I play on that system is available on PC. It's just kind of hand in hand. But PlayStation's going that path. KOTOR Remake, again, going to be on PC the same day it's going to be on PlayStation 5. So I don't think that makes it inherently less valuable to your brand. It just means that they want to sell more copies. And I think it's good that they're going to start doing it day of with a game like that. That's a big game. You want to draw that out more. Granted, it's timed exclusivity, but you want to draw that out as long as you can. And so I just, I'm happy to see that, and I hope that they continue to bring it to PC and hopefully quicker. Like, I hope Ghost of Tsushima is next on the horizon. I think that's a fantastic option for PC because it's such a visual showcase. To play on ultra wide and 4K, my God.
And if you look at the timing here, right, it's coming to PC. You cast that net. You bring in some Steam users who have reluctantly like, I'm not buying a PlayStation. I'll never buy a PlayStation. Mm-hmm. Now they're hooked on God of War, and what's coming next? Ragnarok, right?
Yeah.
Now you might sell more consoles, and then you sell more consoles
this is how
to them.
You get someone into your ecosystem. Exactly. You extend the hand.
Yeah, and so with that being said, this is like crazy pot theory here. We get a Bloodborne 2, right?
Oh, man, we're all the way out there now. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting Bloodborne 2. And what's coming to PC? Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
No, honestly, that is.
It makes sense.
I think that's entirely plausible because it's been so long in demand for probably like half a decade now.
Dude, yeah.
That you've just got to wonder. Obviously, it's ramped up with the new consoles, but like it's been so in demand that they do an updated version like PS4 Pro, like do something with this game. They're sitting on it for a reason. Absolutely for a reason. And so it's just, I think it's a matter of when, not if. Mm-hmm. So I get where you're at with that. And yeah, their ability to get $60 from their customers twice. Hey, guess what? Pokemon's been doing that since fucking 1990 something, right? Like everyone's playing catch up on them. Nintendo's found out how to scam their fans twice since many years ago with the same game, by the way. So PlayStation doing it in a little bit of a different way, getting people to double dip. That's the thing. That refresher period, there's a dopamine rush with it where you're just like, yo, I can get that game again. Like there's an experience. I don't know how to define it other than for a lot of people. Not everyone, but for a lot of people, there is an experience when you buy the game that you remember. Like there are games I fondly remember, whether it be downloading or even mostly physically buying, where I'm taking it home and you just remember that trip home or you remember what you were doing that day because it's all an interconnected experience. So PlayStation and all these companies will happily prey on you for that. So they're going to do that with God of War.
Depending on who you are, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like for me, I don't care. Like I never played the original Persona 5, but I know if I did, right? And then Royal was coming out. It's like I guess it's a different case necessarily because it's like added content. But from what I understand, you played both. It's pretty similar, right? Just sort of almost like they have an expansion to it. So I don't know. I like it. I like seeing them bring games back, refresh them, especially games that people love like God of War.
Yeah, because what happens with game development that a lot of people don't know, and obviously I do not feel bad for these first-party studios which have influx within the millions. I'm talking about smaller studios where making a game within a budget, having that game gross, and then being able to quickly reinvest and add some mechanics in or add some changes in a definitive edition. Like, yeah, it's effectively to double dip, but there's a reason they do that. And it's because sometimes with the budget they haven't reached their true vision. So I'm not really against the re-releases that happen in our industry as strongly because there are times where I've hopped in, like, for example, the Trails of Cold Steel. That's a series that, I hopped in very late on. And I played the Vita version, which was the 2014 version of the first one. And it's a bit of a drag. But when you play the actual PS4 re-release of it with turbo mode and all these new mechanics that make it a lot more digestible, it changes the whole infrastructure of the game, and it made me like the series more. So that's what you got to think about with some of these re-releases. Now, with PlayStation, they're just saying, hey, here's the common PC specs you'd expect, like 4K, ultra wide. We're going to use DLSS, all that stuff. That's great. So you're not going to get new content, though. Don't expect that from them.
I think also, too, people forget that these studios, if they're smaller and they're doing a re-release, like one that came out this year was Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. You've been playing that. You never played the original. Yeah. I played the original. And it's not too different. It's a re-release game, but one, I got my physical, which I'm very happy about. Two, it came to other platforms that wasn't just on Steam. And three, now this studio, whoever's making the game, has more money, more interest, newer fans for the eventual sequel or whatever. I know we mentioned that with Ragnarok and stuff, but for the most part, I say it's pretty much only a good thing. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Don't play it. You're not I don't think anyone's really being hurt, except for the people who are like, yeah, I bought my console and now it's devalued, because people have to remember, like, when you buy a game, a lot of its value is it sounds weird, but like the period when you buy it in, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that value is there because of it was exclusive at that time, and you got to play it exclusively at that time when no one else did. So just because other people aren't going to have that same experience doesn't belittle yours or devalue your own experience.
Yeah, man. Like if they released Demon's Souls Remake to PC next year, I wouldn't be upset, because I was a day one adopter of PS5. I got that experience. I loved that experience. And I had it for a year and change more. And honestly, this goes back to this topic that you and I seem to keep visiting, which is like time is a currency that no one accounts for. Mm-hmm. I value my time where I bought the console day one, and based off my plans at that time of the year, I wanted to play Demon's Souls Remake. I probably would not have time for Demon's Souls Remake right now, or if it came out early next year as a PC port, but that may work for other people. But again, time is a currency where I was prepared to spend that money, and everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. So them re-releasing content shouldn't be a big deal. And honestly, it stacks PlayStation early on. You get a PC port of God of War, one of their best games they've made in the beginning of the year, and then you get Horizon the next month. So if you're upset about your PS5 console collecting dust, it's going to get used in like less than 30 days. So just keep an eye out on that too. All right, well, that's all we got for the news. We got a number of patron write-ins we're going to take. Let's bang through these, because there are just so many that we have unfortunately missed. We've kind of gotten through the news pretty quickly, where we're at an hour and a half right now. So let's focus on these and really shred them up, shall we?
Okay.
So the first one is Peebus the Wise. Hello, everyone. I have a long question. So to get around to the 2,000 character limit, I had to chop out the heartfelt introduction. I wish I could call this in, but I'm usually working while you're live, so bear with me here. I've recently gone back and listened through all the old interviews you did with the amazing people who worked on Fallout 4. It's been very thought-provoking. With Starfield being just over a year away, it got me thinking. Forgive me for not knowing the actual wording, but Todd Howard mentioned a while back that the response to Fallout 4's voice protagonist was something they would learn from. And while not specifically saying it outright, it really gave off the vibe that they weren't going to go back to that. Because of this, I'm personally pretty confident that Starfield won't have a voice protagonist. With there being over 150,000 lines of dialogue, I can't help but imagine all the possibilities that could be cooking up with this game. I feel like with that amount of dialogue, it's clear that there's either A, going to be multiple planets we can visit with an absolute crap load of quests, or B, there are going to be a lot of branching paths and alternate ways you can play and respond. Maybe a bit of both. So finally, the question is, in what ways do you personally feel like Bethesda can and should push their old limits? In other words, if you could let your imagination run wild and design your dream Bethesda game with no limits, what areas of their games do you personally feel are held back, and what is the dream way for it to be experienced? Also, what new systems or ideas would you put on the table? I don't really know Kopi's level of passion for these games, but Maddie, if you're anything like me, I know this is probably something you've been kicking around in your head every bit of news we get that's surrounding this game. Thanks for the amazing show, and we all got to the stop sign at the same time, but no one's going type of weekend. Thank you for writing in, Peevis. Yeah, so Paul, you can obviously speak for yourself, but I know you love the BGS games.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I found your channel through Fallout, right?
Yeah.
As most a lot of people have. So a huge Fallout fan, not as big as Elder Scrolls. I really like the Elder Scrolls, but I've only played Skyrim and I love it, but I don't have as much history with it. So I don't know. I want to think on this a little bit. So I'll let you go first, but it is a really good question.
Yeah, I think the best game to go back to when you think of Starfield right now, and but again, there's no sources for this. In my head, I think of Oblivion. The way Oblivion kind of defined Bethesda for that generation. When it came out, there was nothing truly like it. It was this gigantic open world with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of locations, tons of stories being told, fantastic factions. One thing Todd Howard said, beyond what he mentioned here that Peebus mentioned, which was like, yeah, they kind of said it without saying it, that the voice protagonist didn't really work out, is something along the lines of that Starfield will be a more hardcore RPG. They'll go back to their hardcore roots to some extent. And it's funny because I'm working on a Bethesda project. So this question's asked at the perfect moment because I don't know if you saw this in the script I sent you, Paul, but if you didn't, there was an interview I linked in it. And it was Todd's interview with GameStar in 2014. You can sort of see how Todd's words hold true even to this day, but how Bethesda Game Studios changed a lot. And I feel like after 76, there was a lot of internal reflection. What I mean by that is around the 12-minute mark, if anyone wants to listen to this interview, once again, it's Todd Howard being interviewed by GameStar. He talks about the trends in the industry. He talks about what types of games are being made. He even calls certain games casual games. And then he gets into the games that Bethesda Game Studios makes, and he talks about how they're more hardcore. He's like, we want to make those more hardcore games, right? And when you look at Fallout 4, when you look at 76, it looks like Bethesda slipped away from what was honestly hardcore at the time. And what's interesting is at the moment, he noted a lot of that's reflective of what we're playing at the time. And so when you look at 76, when you look at Fallout 4, they're sort of on the coattails of some trends, right? Like you can see the open world collectathon with grabbing every object and turning it into a crafting item. The settlement system, Minecraft's a big thing. Let's put it in an open world RPG. The do everything skill system, voice protagonist, yes, like that.
Witcher.
The Witcher, yeah. And I think as the industry got a little more hardcore with RPGs, Divinity, Wasteland, Witcher 3 again. Witcher 3 backhanding Fallout 4 pretty hard, I think, did something to the studio. Mm-hmm. The damage of 76 is, I look at Oblivion as this game that's that perfect in-between for Bethesda Game Studios of, this isn't a Wasteland 3 spider web-like RPG where I'm going to make this choice and this dude's going to fucking try to shoot me like 20 hours later. You're not going to get something like that. But in Oblivion, your gameplay build is really unique based off the time you spend with certain skills, and then you'll unlock perks within those skills. So I remember like forgetting about this entirely, but you'll get to 20 athleticism and something will pop up telling you how you've grown more athletic and what happened to you because of that. I could see a new universe like Starfield really playing with ideas like that more, with all the different alien races, the way you can interact with factions. We just learned through the Settled Systems trailer that you've got this United Front, I think it's called, or the Collective Freedom. I don't know. There are these two factions that Bethesda loves factions, right? So they're going to do a lot of their storytelling through that. I just think ultimately that if I could run wild with it, it would just say, look at Oblivion as a blueprint and kind of build on top of that. Like Oblivion's design is fantastic because they had only a couple of dungeon designers. I think only one. So that won't be a problem for them nowadays, but it was a problem for them back then. But everything they did was terrain-wise procedurally generated, and then the quests, the drops, all that stuff was handcrafted. Do that, because then you have a lot of, it feels like you're in a universe, especially in a game about space and going into the Starfield, which you're going to go to different planets and see these different races. It needs to feel like that. So I just hope they take a look at Oblivion is my analysis on that.
With that, by procedural generation, because I don't have a lot of experience with Oblivion, are you saying they generated the world and then they filled it up, or are you saying like
yes,
everybody's a different experience?
Yes,
I'm assuming it's not that one.
Yeah, no,
okay,
it's the former. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I like that, and I think it definitely makes it feel more natural, like you said, like a universe. For my answer to the question, it's kind of interesting because it's weird. I don't know necessarily a way they can fix it other than hiring better writers. But Fallout 3's writing, especially if you compare it to New Vegas and even Fallout 4's, it's pretty horrendous. Like their writing, their dialogue, in my opinion, is really, really bad at times.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it can be attributed to some of the voice acting. I watched a video very recently comparing 3 to New Vegas, and obviously it picks like examples, so you don't get a full picture. But it was comparing Colonel Autumn to Legate Lanius, and it's just a very clear, like, you got the final confrontation or whatever with 2 big antagonists, and Colonel Autumn just paled in comparison. The writing was very awkward. The voice acting was also not that good. But the thing is, like, it's not just a Fallout 3 issue. I remember this in Fallout 4 as well. I love the voice acting with the main protagonist in the sense that they did a great job with their voice. I didn't really like it necessarily for the RPG systems and stuff, but even the dialogue in that game felt very pieced together. Like, okay, you record this, and then, you know what I mean? And I get that
definitely.
That's sort of how it is, but in New Vegas, it just so streamlined. Like, even a character like Ulysses, who a lot of people criticize because he doesn't make a lot of sense. I think there's reasons why he doesn't make sense, but his voice acting is phenomenal. The writing there is so, they treat you like you're intelligent when you play Fallout New Vegas. They don't like treat you like a baby. I feel like in Fallout 3 and 4, it's like, this is what's going on. Here's the dialogue. Here's the story. In New Vegas, they dance around it. It's more natural. It feels like you're actually talking to people. And I feel like that's something in Fallout 3 and 4 that really has been sort of magnified after going back to New Vegas, noticing New Vegas.
It's funny you mention that, because I remember after Fallout 4 released, its biggest critique was definitely its writing above anything else. And a lot of that was honed in on Emil Pagliarulo, who, funny enough, he's been the voice in all of these different Starfield lore videos we've been getting. What's interesting is his position is design director now, and that came in after all of that critique to Fallout 4. So I'm not saying suddenly it's going to be a better written game, but I wonder, because here's the thing, with Emil at the spearhead, like, this is the guy who made like the Brotherhood, not the Brotherhood, sorry, the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion, which is a fantastic quest line. Like, he's made some gold, man, where he just sort of lost his way for some time, and I wonder if they like pulled him back, put him in a different spot to allow other people to succeed him. And I expect Starfield to be written differently than something like what we've seen from them in the past, just by that change alone, because I understand why, for example, he wanted to write on Fallout 4. I know you were talking about Fallout 3, but just on that note, because Fallout 4 was set in his hometown, so he probably wanted to have his hands on that one. But Starfield, he seems to be more in on designing the actual world space. Like, if anyone broke down the doc that he was typing on in the Starfield concept trailer, you could see he was just typing lore notes, which you and I do, Paul. We do that in Google Docs all the time for our game. So it's like a pretty common thing when you're on the design front. So I hope that I expect it to improve because of the feedback in general, but I think it will improve because of some of the staff changes that have occurred through that.
Yeah, and that's not to say like Fallout 3 or 4 had bad quests. I think the quests that were there, a lot of them are really amazing. Fallout 4 lesser, but I know Fallout 3 has some very memorable quests, and not all of the dialogue is bad. But I think it's really just the writing. Like, it's not all like the quests or the characters. I think the writing really, really suffers. And you know, like, they moved Emil. I don't remember his last name, but they moved him from his position to something else. So I do think that we're going to see improvement, especially when you have 150,000 lines of dialogue and presumably not a voice protagonist, because that's a lot of dialogue, as we've both talked about. And we don't know if that's a working number, if it's going to get larger. I imagine, honestly, I could see it getting shorter even, purely because all these audio files are massive, but at the same time, you have like 200 gigabyte Call of Duty games, so maybe Bethesda isn't worried about that.
It's funny, I was reading a lot of developer reactions to the dialogue count in this game, and some of them were kind of worried because of the amount of production that goes into it. You know, we have yet to experience this part for our game, but like, you know, what we were reading is the idea is that's voice lines. Then you got to have someone check the quality, make sure it fits. There's so many lines of production beneath that. To do that 150,000 times is insane. Like, it's never been done before. Like Disco Elysium, I believe that they said it had about 300,000 lines of dialogue is what I saw. And the reality is that this is not, I don't think, ideally 150,000 you'll see in one playthrough. I think it's gonna be 150,000 that you could see across multiple, because it would make more sense if I played one playthrough as like a particular race and I did X, Y, and Z and I sided with these factions and I had this outcome, that I'd see like 40,000 of those lines in a playthrough, 50,000 of those lines in a playthrough. And then another one, I could see other things in a different character build. That's something that I would really hope for with this game. But if it's all crammed into one playthrough, you might run into that similar issue you brought up with Fallout 3 of that sort of plug and play that you were seeing, where you could see they were just taking batches of lines that throwing them at the player because the character's not speaking, so you don't have to emotionally match things. You're just like, this is what you're saying at this moment in time, and every line is individualized rather than an interaction. So it's a whole different vibe to it.
And that's like what I was talking about with like Colonel Autumn. Like sometimes his voice would be elevated, sometimes he'd be speaking more mildly, and it just the tone with the voice acting. And that's like the voice acting, like the choice of who's voicing, but also just like sort of the writing can be at fault with that too. Because I imagine when you're a writer, when you're reading dialogue, you do need to tell like your voice actors, like, hey, this is the tone we're looking for. This is the context. This is what you're responding to. So I think New Vegas handles that a lot better than 3. And that's not to say I don't like Fallout 3. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, that's just one of the glaring issues with it. Especially the more and more I look at New Vegas. Like we worked on that the Dead Money video together, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like that game, the characters in Dead Money, the dialogue is phenomenal. And then you compare it to some of the DLC in Fallout 3, and it's like Mothership Zeta.
Yeah.
I like Mothership Zeta, but a lot of people don't. So
No, it's not very good.
Yeah.
So thank you for writing in, Peebus. We got another Fallout question, so we'll continue that conversation with Vault 101 guy, aptly named. Hey, Ham Live, just a quick rant and question. It has come to the sudden realization that the Xbox Series consoles do not have a quick way to fully shut off the console. You have to go through a few menus to achieve this. Why? At least on PS4, you had the option to rest or shut off. Yeah, both consoles have this issue, unfortunately. Now for my question. With the recent news of Fallout 3's PC patch making it so that the games for Windows is not required to make it work, it seems like a lot of people are still having issues. Why won't Todd just remaster the damn game?
Why? That is the question, Vault 101 guy. Why?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I on the note of consoles not powering off, I don't know why both these companies can't figure out that people just want to be able to shut off their systems with their controller and not go through 8 menus, but I digress.
I remember unplugging my Xbox to fully turn it off. Like I would just go under there or go behind it and just unplug it.
I get terrified doing that. Like something's gonna break.
I did it for years. So
that's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. As for the PC patch question, the vibe I'm getting here is Bethesda's updating stuff across the board on their back end. So if you look at the visual compiler they're using for Skyrim Anniversary Edition, I posted a video on this the other day about how they're going to have an issue with modding right off the rip because, as I said, they're updating this visual compiler, which is going to change how programming hooks work and so on and so forth, where a lot of mods are about to break for Skyrim effectively. And just like with Special Edition, the community's going to have to adapt. They'll get over it. We'll figure it out, and it'll be fine in like a couple of months. But initially, there are going to be some issues where everyone across the board has to update their stuff. And some modders, as always, have moved on. Some have not. So there's going to be, like I said, a little bit of a gap in time where there's going to be mods not working. The reason for this is they've updated this visual compiler from Visual Studio 2015 to 2019. And this is a good choice for them to make, according to modders. I do not personally know why, but I would trust they know more than I. And what's funny is Fallout 3 just got the same change. So I don't know what they're doing on the back end, why they're doing it, but again, we sort of talked about this already at the start of the show, why they won't remaster this game. We're in an era where everything under the sun's being remade, and I find it continuously shocking that, Fallout 3 and New Vegas have not been repackaged for the audience to be sold. Part of me admires it, right? I always will admire the idea. It's like, oh, we don't really want to just take money out of your hands like that. But there are so many significant adjustments that you can make with this game that would improve it, where I don't know why they're just sort of letting it lull about. Especially because the PC version of Fallout 3 just sucks. Like content aside, PC 3, even with this patch, it still sucks. Like it needs to be worked on, and it needs to be set for a modern audience so that people can actually come and play it, which they really can't right now unless you have the GOG version, which has like the built-in 4 GB enabler and a couple of other mods. Like, it's impressive what they've done there, but it's just not the same across the board, and they just need to modernize this thing, man.
Yeah, it's about time. The fact that they just now fixed it, like the Microsoft Live or whatever, Windows Live. It's just, come on, just do something with the IP. Remaster games, remake them. I think, I wonder if Xbox commanded something. Well, obviously they own Bethesda, but how much they can just be like, yeah, go do this. You know what I mean?
How much they can like really pressure them.
Yeah, like, do you think Fallout? Do you think Phil can go in, like, grab the license and throw it at someone else without souring? Like, I imagine there's sort of like these like expectations and these relations between these two companies.
Yeah.
I think Microsoft wants to keep good relations with the people they purchased, especially since they have such a good relationship. So I almost wonder if there's like a respect thing there. Like, yeah, we're not just going to take this very lucrative license away from you because you're not doing something with it. I think Phil needs to start stepping on some toes. Like, I really do.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, but I also like the idea that, like, hey, let's get Bethesda involved, let's collaborate on this. But to borrow a line from Cognito, you don't want too many chefs in the kitchen. So in my eyes, if Bethesda might be wary on it, and then they might be contributing too much and saying, oh, we want to do this, that, and everyone's going back and forth on it, just fucking take the IP and throw it at someone, see what happens. Because again, 76 cannot buoy this franchise. It cannot. And a show, even a good show, can't. It's a hardcore role-playing game series. So we could go on about this one. Of course, we talked about it a lot already, but it's time for some type of re-release or remaster. That's
why one of the secret projects Obsidian is working on is actually Fallout.
Yes.
Confirmed. Right here.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's get into Grimblade's question. I find myself purchasing more games than I ever have to play. These are often games that I have every intention of playing, but I just never get around to it. Recently, I've taken to installing every new game I purchase and not allowing myself to uninstall it until I've at least loaded it up once. What strategies do you use to ensure that you actually play all the games you intend to play?
This is a good question. I have my answer ready.
Go for it.
To go first.
No, go for it.
So I've run into this problem a lot, and honestly, the problem I have most with it isn't, and this is just me because I'm a college student, so I have more time on my hands when I'm not busy doing schoolwork and stuff. But really, it's the fact that when I have so many games pressuring me to play them, I end up not completing things as much, and that's I bounce more often than I should, or I leave games behind and I move on to the next thing. And I might complete it, I might not, or bounce to the next thing. So what I have found to work, and what's working recently, is if there's a game coming out I want to play. I want to play Metroid Dread, but I've yet to pick it up. And this might be a bad example because Nintendo doesn't really put their games on sale as often. But
I know what you're saying, though.
If I know there's no reason to buy it right now, like I'm not going to get to it, it's not going to go away. It's not a limited release. I'll just buy it when I'm like, okay, I have time for it. So what I do is I get like maximum 5 games. Usually it's like 3, maybe 4, and those are like my current games. So right now it's Hades, it's Bayonetta. It was Tales of Arise, but I dropped it, and I don't think I'm going back to it. Hades, Bayonetta, and what's the other one? I mentioned it earlier.
Sora and Smash. No, you
like,
those
yeah,
other two you've hit.
Yeah, so Hades, Bayonetta, I'm playing Sora, and obviously I'm still on Genshin. And what I basically do is I section it out. It's like, okay, these are the games I'm playing now. And then once I finish Hades or once I'm done with Bayonetta, my next one is going to be Bayonetta 2. But I don't own Bayonetta 2 yet. And I haven't bought it because I buy it and then I play it. And I think that helps me a lot. It works with me because I can section off my sessions. I can section off this is the group of games I'm playing. Once I'm done with this, I can move on and create another group. But it's a little harder when you already have a huge backlog. And if your backlog is so massive to the point where like you'd have to like do this for like so many different groups of games, you know? For me, like my backlog isn't that big. I have a mental backlog of games I know I'm gonna want to hit in the future, like things I haven't touched in the past, like KOTOR 2 and Mass Effect 3. I never finished. I kind of started it and didn't really fully get through it. But I think that helps me best, is sort of sectioning it off and group to group for these different games, and buying them when when I'm gonna play them. Because otherwise, they just sit on my shelf, and I feel bad. I'm
Yeah.
tired of doing that to my poor games.
Yes. For me, I don't know if I have really a tactic. My only thing I would employ is I typically play 2 games at a time. But eventually I found that like sometimes I want to go and play this game, sometimes I want to go and play that game. And then I started to get really scatterbrained when I tried that again, because I'm trying to remember this story over here and this mechanic over there and how this works over here. And it just snowballs really quickly. So the only thing I do is when I buy games, I'll buy whatever I want if I have the intention of playing it eventually. There are games that I like definitely skipped out on when I bought them for a long while, like Disco Elysium, because I wanted to play it on Switch. Pillars of Eternity I just completely slept on. And that just falls on me. But otherwise, it wasn't until this year where my responsibilities picked up a lot more that I felt I typically was pretty good at completing games, but it's because the reviews picked up really fast, where they were just kind of overwhelming the games I was just playing for leisure time. Outside of the summer where I was just playing whatever, I was really just kind of bouncing from whatever the hell I wanted. I have to always factor in those reviews. So for me, it's about one at a time, and just not starting something new too hastily if I'm approaching the release of another game, more so focusing on getting another done. But other than that, there aren't really strategies, because some games just bounce. Like I do feel bad if I pick up a game, I play it and I don't finish it, but just some just don't work. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's all there is to it.
I was going to mention that. Like, if you're not feeling something and you're really hankering to play something else, drop it and go. Especially if you're not planning on coming back. Like Tales of Arise, I might, but like I don't. I guess fantasize would be the wrong word. I don't like think about it often. I don't think like, yeah, I'm excited to go back to that. Like it's just, it's not for me. Like I played it and I'm not really liking it. So that's it. I move on and I complete something else. I finish something else. I'll be done with Bayonetta probably by next week, like towards the beginning, and then I'll start Bayonetta 2. And it's like I'm getting my games done. I'm finishing things. And I think that's important, is to don't force yourself. If you're not, even if you spend money on it, it doesn't matter. It's still something you can put on your shelf.
Yep.
Unless you're a digital collector. In case I'm sorry.
Yes. No shelf for you. Carlton Dexter is our next question here. Hello. After struggling to sleep last night, I have been thinking, what if? What if Bethesda Softworks and ZeniMax wanted to make Elder Scrolls 6 epic by making it a collaboration project? Bethesda Game Studios would still be the main player, but they would get all of their main studios to help out. My question is, what would you want each studio to help out with? I'm going to give a curveball answer here and say none. I don't want anyone BGS touching that game. I really don't. Not even because I'm idolizing them when I say that. Just, I know how they treated Skyrim. I will forever remember the emotions I experienced leading into Skyrim and how world-changing that game felt to me. I think with the anticipation of this, it can sort of replicate that. Let BGS handle their baby. We don't need id Tech hopping in here, fucking with the shooting, like and Machine Games fucking with the shooting, like we saw with Fallout 4. Let BGS make their game, man. Just let them make their game. I feel like they just work well on their own. They just don't need, not that they don't need help, but anytime they have collaborated heavily, I feel like it's not worked out well. Like, for example, Fallout 76. This was Bethesda Game Studios Austin stepping in, which is like formerly, I want to say, Battlecry Studios. And we know how that worked. Or that might have been the other Texas-based studio. I digress. It was another collaborative thing. It got bounced around. I know Arcane was helping on that game a lot. Bethesda just does not perform well. They have a lot of people on board. The reason I think Fallout 3 and Oblivion and Morrowind and Skyrim were so good was because it was 100 people working on it. And that was it. That was it. So yeah, that's my answer.
I'll actually agree with you, not just to like piggyback on you, but more so it's just like when you look at their history, the games that they've made best have been isolated for them alone. And also, I think I trust Bethesda with Elder Scrolls. I think it's their baby, Todd's baby. He doesn't want to mess it up. He won't. Fallout 4 is a little different. They like Fallout, and it's very lucrative, but it's not like their Elder Scrolls to them.
They clearly don't like it as much.
Yeah, and it's like the favorite child.
Yeah, Absolutely.
And I trust them to feed the favorite child the food it needs and grow it up nice and strong. So sorry to disappoint Carlton Dexter, but
Yeah.
none.
None. All right.
I'm interested to see what other people would think, though.
Yes.
In the comments.
Absolutely. Fire away. Chris Cozy's next. Have either of you played a crypto-based game like X Infinity? What are your thoughts on these types of games and a play-to-earn model? I've never even heard of this.
Is it so from? It's an okay. So this is an NFT-based game, and I think the idea is you play it and you earn cryptocurrency
Oh my
for
God.
NFTs.
What?
Wow. Yeah. So no, I've never played a game like that, and I didn't know they existed. But I use a web browser that pays me in cryptocurrency for using it. I use Brave. It's like
You
Google
still
Chrome,
use
but-
that shit?
What do you mean that shit, Matt? This
Nah,
shit is so
This is
good.
such a debate. I thought it was such a weird move for you.
Dude, no, I've been
I remember
using
that,
it
like,
for so
it was
long.
like, oh, Mozilla, what is it, Firefox? Like, I thought that was
Firefox
the,
isn't bad.
I thought that was the weirdo browser, but like Brave is definitely
no, Firefox is good. Google Chrome isn't bad, but it eats up your computer. Having like so many programs up, it's not good. Maybe not for you, Matt, because you got this beefy rig, okay? But for me, my baby 1660 Super is still rocking. I think
Oh,
about 32 gigs of RAM.
my what is this? A 3080 Ti or whatever?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
doing just
Like,
fine in here.
it functions the exact same way as Google Chrome. It looks the same. It runs on their I don't know what the word is. I think it's API or interface. I don't know. It's based on Chromium. So like it has Google Chrome
It's
already
ass.
like built.
That's
you
enough.
gotta try it. It's Google Chrome but quicker, and it gives me cryptocurrency.
Nah, Google Chrome is already quick. You can't change my mind. Now,
No,
this one,
it's not. Matt, go use Google Chrome on a laptop, please.
I
Do it.
have it right here. It's right next to me.
Nah, dude. When you switch to a web browser that doesn't consume your RAM, you'll know what I mean. It's a lot quicker.
So I'm
Especially-
slowly breaking
Matt,
my computer through Chrome.
No. It's just like, all right, Matt, we got ClipGrab open, right? Sony Vegas,
Right.
Google Chrome, Discord. Wow, all these programs are siphoning up your power, and Google Chrome is a lot bigger than it should be. It takes up way more than it should.
No.
It's not bad. It's
I'm good with Chrome.
It's great. It's okay. One day you'll switch to Brave when
I'm rolling,
Vegas when you're really pissed off that Vegas crashed on you.
Does
and
Vegas
it's 'cause you
crash
had-
less when you're using Brave?
Yeah, because my RAM is being utilized less. It's not like it's not like
It's a
it's
compelling
Brave.
argument.
Google Chrome. It's just the more power Vegas has, the less likely it is to crash. Because I think the reason why it crashes so much, and I don't know about you, but it always crashes when the video is playing. For me, pretty much.
Yeah, you'll like drag and drop a file, hit play, and you'll see the
Yeah.
three dots of doom.
Yeah, so I think it's because it's trying to like preview it, and it's almost like mini rendering it.
Yeah.
But that rendering takes up computer processing power, and Google Chrome takes up a lot of processing power. Anyway, yeah, that's enough of that. Brave is good.
We just got a couple super chats I want to blast through here. Space Dovahkiin says the Fallout IP should go to Obsidian and Exile. Then we got Vault of the Future. A lot of Fallout this episode. Do you eventually think that we will have RPGs with AI dialogue systems where you just use your voice, like with thousands of branching outcomes? I think that'll eventually happen. Personally, that's
Like in the far future.
far future. Yeah, I think that'll be a thing. I think first is like a branching AI dialogue system that has like presented choices, and when you select something without speaking, you see the branching dialogue. Like it's gonna be in text first for sure.
Ooh, that's like what is it called? What's that Netflix series called? Black Mirror. I don't like
All right.
that. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I like the more handcrafted stuff. I think that'll always be there because it's an art-driven industry. But I agree.
I agree, but like that stuff takes time,
Mm.
right? That voicing that takes time. It's like for a lot of production. It costs a lot of money, so maybe
Yeah.
we won't see it as much.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Retro Rebound, man, go check it out.
That's the future.
Yeah. And then Zach's our last super chat here. Did I miss the convo about the leaked Xbox MMO? Love Mr. Matty Plays. You did, but this is archived. It'll be linked on my Twitter account. You can just go ahead and listen. It'll be our first news item when we get there. Otherwise, the episode will be live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So just keep an eye out for that one. It'll be there for you. Other than that, let's get into more patron write-ins. This one's for you, Kopi. Cam writes, Good evening, gents. My question tonight is for Kopi, and it is probably the most important question you'll get for a while and separates the savages from the sophisticated. How many ice cubes do you put in a glass of pop?
3, maybe 2, because I don't want my pop to be watered down, my soda. But it also depends on what kind of cup I have. Like if it's one of those steel ones, like I think it's a Yeti, right?
Yeah.
I'll put more because it won't melt as quickly.
Yeah, it ices it up. I like that.
And if it's a different kind of ice, like those smaller ones, I like to load it up. But general like basic ice cubes, I'm looking at 3 max. And I think that's a maniac move to some people. Oh
no, I'm right there with you. Here's the thing: is Dustin is a fucking lunatic. He put 1 in, like 1 in the center. He's like, oh, water's down afterwards. Maddie, you can't be doing that. I'm like, Dustin,
1?
Yeah, 1. And he won't do ketchup because he thinks it looks like pre-cum. Like Dustin was a menace, man. He was a menace with.
Wait. Ketchup looks like.
Yeah,
like red ketchup.
Yeah, when you squeeze it out and it gets that liquid first on top of your burger, we called it ketchup pre-cum because it was just this like fucking. Yeah, I get where he was coming from, but I'm like, dude, you just pour the ketchup on top of the pre-cum. There you go, like it's done.
Yeah, I think at that point it sort of gets rid of that issue. I mean, I'm not big on ketchup anyway, but weird.
Yeah,
very weird.
Yeah, I think what's more weird is the single ice cube. Again, I think the idea that someone would drop a single cube in the middle, that melts in an instant. Like just the way chemistry works, it's gone in a heartbeat, right? You need the ice there for at least a little bit of time to get a couple of chilled sips in before it's all gone. And that's why 3 is the magic number. You don't get watered down too much. Your drink stays cold for a while. Probably by the time you're done, even you'll still have cubes in your cup. We need to get on that level of like talking, and hopefully our audience will feel this, talking food items, because that's where the real divide comes in. That's where the real conversations happen.
Video game opinions, Matt. We line up pretty. We're kind of parallel often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we reach that like, no, I disagree, but I imagine with food, as you know, my diet, it would be very different.
No, because I remember I found that photo from Thanksgiving where you're like cherry Coke and it's in this like crystal wine glass. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What's wrong with it? Explain.
I'm just of the mindset that you shouldn't be putting pop, as Carrick would say, into a wine glass. Because is it like, here's the thing, right? Did you take it from a can or a bottle? Do you remember this?
It was a 2-liter bottle. I remember, surprisingly. I don't know why.
Wow.
But I do.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, because if it was the can, I would have a bigger issue, because now you're wasting resources, right?
Matt, Thanksgiving, it's all about presentation. Okay. Okay. Imagine you're having Thanksgiving on paper plates, one of those like pull-out tables, like the I don't know what material would be, like the hard plastic, like the white ones that you put outside. It's all about presentation. I'm not going to sit there with a can of soda. If I have a nice fancy wine glass that my mom pulls out for Thanksgiving, so she wants it to look nice and fancy for pictures, I'll pour my soda in the wine glass. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think anyone has a problem with it. I think you're a maniac.
Okay, but you're getting less drink. Like wine glasses are this
Pour
big.
more.
Pour more, he says.
Pour more. What's wrong? Go get it's a 2-liter bottle. It's actually it wasn't even sitting on the table. We put it back in the fridge. Just get up and get some more.
I feel like it's all like bravado though to have soda wine. Like I just feel like it's a chest puffed kind of move. You're just like sitting there like, yes, I am above you.
I could see it, but just remember, I did not choose to have soda wine. Okay, it was the presentation laid on the table. I was able to put whatever drink I wanted in there. And I saw some cherry Coke in the fridge. I love Coke. I hadn't had cherry Coke in a while, and it worked perfectly.
I can respect that because if you put water in there, that's a bigger problem, I think.
No, I don't think it's a problem at all. If that's the what's the word? The dishes, I guess the utensils put on the table. If it's a wine glass, I'm not going to put it away and grab a normal glass. That's what my family set up for dinner, and that's what I'm going to have. I think you're overreacting a little bit on this. I really do. If you have a wine glass, like Matt, okay, this is the situation. I walk down the stairs, got my nice my white collar shirt on, tucked in. I got my khakis or slacks
Right.
with a belt. I look fancy, and the table's already set up for me, as it does when someone hosts Thanksgiving. Why would I mess with the setup they have?
You wouldn't
Why
go
would I
just
do
grab
that?
a cup and be like, I need a little bit more in my drink.
No, because I can just pour some more in there.
That's fucking unbelievable, man.
It's I think no. I'm curious to see what people think
No,
about
the chat's
this.
against me on this one.
I'm not surprised. At least we both agree one ice cube is a maniac.
Absolutely.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Dustin, you're weird for that. I don't think you're listening, but if you are.
Yeah. Dustin knows he's weird. He'll deny it, but he knows he's weird. Who was in our group? This is a side question. I don't know if you remember. I think it was Tyler. Someone had, no, it was Vinny. He had this awful looking meal on a paper plate. And
It's for Thanksgiving?
I don't think it was a holiday. It was
Okay.
just when you brought it up, a picture came to mind that we all have shared in our group. And I should throw it in
Soul
our
Pack?
Discord server. No, it was Vinny, because I remember it had like asparagus, like half a piece of chicken. It was fucking cut in half. It was like a little rice there too. And he was, he's hyping up his little get healthy meal. And I was like, dude, what is this abomination of a presentation you're putting here? That's the thing. Meal presentation's important. And I know that makes me a bit hypocritical because I was just harassing Kopi for having wine soda. But I think like when you're sharing a picture with the boys, what we do in our group, for those who don't know, is we have a bit of a Thanksgiving off, a bit of a Christmas dinner off, and we compete. We rate each other's dinners. I get very competitive with it. I get pissed off when my plates get shredded because I put so much time into organizing my plate and taking a good photo. And I remember like Tyler was ripping up my Thanksgiving desserts. He was like, "That's the worst fucking slice of pie I've ever seen."
It was like you had like what cookies did you have?
I remember the kind of easy oven bake ones that come from from Walmart. You know, they got like the little Halloween or the turkey on them. And you just throw them in the oven, they expand.
No, dude, I hate those.
I think they're great. I think they're underrated.
Dude, no, give me like a nice like chocolate chip cookie. Yes, that's.
Yeah, of course.
So like, yeah, but that's like an inferior, like the little. I know what you're talking about, like the round, like Pillsbury.
They're like perfect. Yeah, Pillsbury. Yep.
The thing on them.
Oh
no,
yeah,
dude,
they're the lazy man's cookie. They're the lazy man cookie.
Get some pie. That's
What's
horrible.
the thing? I had pie. My pie got cooked up though.
What kind was it?
Pumpkin.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it looked like.
I think he called it dry. He said it was a dry looking pumpkin. I was like, dude, no, that's not right.
I get cooked up for one of my like, not one of my greatest meals I've ever had, but I had a really good dinner a few months ago. It's like it's grilled chicken, and I think there was like some homemade mac and cheese on the side.
Oh,
and
no.
I can't. And there was a bacon on it, and I got cooked up, and I was like, man, this is good. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't take Tyler's word so hard a little bit.
It's a surprisingly vulnerable moment when you share your meal with your friends. You don't know what you're gonna get back. You know what I do now is because especially I'm going to the gym. I can't now because of the fucking hole in my arm currently. But when I'm usually going, I'm eating pretty clean. And so what I do is I send Tyler I call them boring guy meals. So I'll send him my chicken with green beans and rice, and it's just like it looks so unappetizing in a sense. He's like, dude, that chicken's dry as a bone. He loses his mind. We got to get Tyler on the show at one point just to have the audience connect with him. Right now, he's just this anomaly, but people need to hear this man's takes because they're some of the worst out there on planet Earth.
Yeah, Tyler's out there and he won't admit it. This guy really needs some therapy. Like seriously, he does.
I agree. Pen and Pants up next. What up, Hambonies? With the new host, I need to ask a question. Maddie has already answered this, but it'd be rather heinous. Kopi, what is your opinion of Crocs? Yeah, this came up because someone said you could technically eat Crocs, and that pissed me off. Anyway, you go for it.
Wait. Like you could eat the shoes?
Yes.
You can technically
because of the type of waste, you could technically eat them. Now, could you pass them through properly? Not really.
So if you had like a pair of Crocs that were clean, sterile, and you ate them, you'd be fine.
Kinda. Like the way it was worded was like you could actually eat them, like hum num num, and it's all tasty. But no, it's like you're eating plastic that's somewhat biodegradable. But like by the time I'm gonna be honest, by the time you're taking a dump, you're shooting out that same thing you ate, man. Like it's not been grinded down whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
no, your body's not decomposing that the way you think it is.
Absolutely not.
I have a very horrid memory of wearing Crocs when I was very little.
Oh, sweet. I
My
love
family went to we went to a baseball field, I think it was, and my dad and I were playing some baseball. I think I was gonna go play for a t-ball team, and I was running. I was running and running.
Man's running in Crocs. L.
Yeah. Well, okay, little kid. Like I'm not like a sneakerhead out here. Like whatever my parents give me is what I'm wearing. And my heels blistered up horribly.
Okay. Yeah, I can see
And
that.
since then I've never owned a pair of Crocs. Ever. But I was actually looking at them recently.
Why
I didn't
is
get
that?
any. I don't know. I've been wanting to up my shoe game a little bit. As you know, I got some.
That's not where you go to up your shoe game, man.
Well, I just want
Crocs.
to. I've been wearing I have like these two main pairs of shoes. I have Vans, which are nice. I got cooked up for them, by the way, which was illegitimate. I wore them to the gym, and it was a bad move.
No, I am the king of shoe supremacy in the gym. Like if I saw, I remember working out with Tyler, and he showed up in Vans. I was like, what the? Because he always does
Matt,
that. He does it to piss me off on purpose.
I did some research because I'm not a big gym guy. You know, I don't know a lot about it, but I did some research, and they're great for lifting. Great because it's flat. The shoe's flat, so when you're
I can take that out. I'm okay with that one.
Yeah, but recently I got some Adidas Ultra Boost, and they're so comfortable. I love those shoes. Big recommendation from my friend Strazzy Colin. Matt, you know him.
Yes.
And I don't know. I was looking at Crocs for some reason. I just wanted to widen my shoe horizon. You know, I had Air Force Ones and Vans, and that's all I really wore around because I have this old pair of Sperry's which I really like, but the problem is they hurt my back when I walk in them, and they're from high school, so they're really
beaten
really
down.
old.
I would recommend if you're looking for a good pair of anyone out there, by the way, is what I'm more so speaking to, is looking for a good pair of like workout shoes or just day-to-day shoes. I love my Ghost 13s, man. I got them for Christmas last year because when I was going on jogs and stuff, like I was wearing Nikes, Adidas, dude, anything I wore, New Balance, my knees were fucking killing me. Like they were aching bad, and my body was sore from it, which was weird. I'm like, I'm 20 at the time. I was like 24, 25. I'm like, I shouldn't be in pain from jogging at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And I throw on my Ghost 13s, man. Oh, I'm in great shape now.
What's special about them? What makes them stand out?
It's something with the way that they're built and like the elevation they're on and the padding within them. I've actually, by the way, you should have like two pairs to alternate so you're not just beating down one pair. But
yeah,
with these Ghost 13s, I've been running and exercising in them for about almost a year now, 10 months because I got them for Christmas. And well, probably 9 months now because I had COVID, so I couldn't work out at first. And they just, there's something within them that is durable, that has kept my body in a good state. And I highly recommend them.
I'm gonna get my new pair of shoes to show you because I'm looking at Ghost 13s right now, and I think I see what is good for these shoes. So I'm just gonna grab them real quick.
Oh boy, here we go. We're gonna get a shoe showcase here. You know it's for real when Paul takes the blanket off.
Okay, Matt, blankets are okay. Now we got the shoe here. This is my Ultra Boost. Pretty new. I like them a lot.
Those are nice. I like those.
Yeah, what I like about them is this front here. It's not solid, I guess the word would be. It's like it's a meshy. It's so comfortable and it's very breathable for your toes.
Yeah, I get
that. You keep coming in my room.
I know the pain. Trust me.
Yeah. But yeah, it's got the netting. I don't know. It's really comfortable, and this like foamy thing at the bottom. It's just really comfortable to walk in. Anyway, yeah, that's. Those are the shoes I've been wearing recently. The original question was about Crocs.
Well, certainly know your opinion on Crocs. You've gone elsewhere.
I'm terrified of them. They're horrifying.
Yeah.
They scalped up my.
They are dog walkers.
Heels.
If you're wearing Crocs for anything other than walking your dog in the middle of the night, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know.
I wouldn't even want Crocs on then. I haven't worn them in so long. Maybe I need to try them again. Are they like particularly comfortable?
I've worn them. To me, it feels like I don't know how to describe it. I'm walking in plastic. Like there's no cushion. Yeah. There's no give.
You wear socks with them?
Yeah. You're okay. And at least I did. And you're just kind of in them. You know, there's no feeling. I feel like they're always on the verge of slipping off my heels, but they're not because they're plastic. So they're not like a smooth plastic. They're like almost an adhesive. It's weird. I don't know how to define it, but they're just these really weird shoes that I just can't get behind here. We have some patrons who are big on Crocs. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I'm not on that boat either. Sorry, Croc fans.
We got Grimblade again. So there was a guy. Wait, I didn't read any of this.
I put this in here so I know what this is.
All right, it says there was There was a guy jerking it in the stall next to me in a public bathroom at a school. He definitely knew he wasn't alone. What is the worst thing you've been around or witnessed or done to yourself in public? Oh, I think I got one. Funny enough, it's a public bathroom story. I remember I was pulling up to a Walmart, and I think I was going to get props for a video. But when I got there, you get that feeling of like desperation where you're like, it's bathroom time.
You gotta go.
I gotta go. Right? It's fight or flight. So off to the bathroom I go, and I'm sitting there, and there's this old guy in the stall right next to me, and I just hear him kind of mumbling to himself like, fuck, shit, fuck, like, oh my fuck. Like, I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this guy doing? And like, I look to my left, and I just see clothes like coming off.
Is he letting out little fucks?
Yeah, he really was. And I just see like a sock come off. I'm like, bro, you're in a Walmart. What are you taking your socks off for? I see the underwear drops, like a shirt drops. I'm like, what's this guy doing? And like, I hear all of a sudden a lady come in. She's like, put your clothes back on. I'm like, why is a lady in here? Like, I panic for a second. I'm like, am I in the wrong bathroom? Did I mistake things? She's like, it turns out it was like this old guy who was just struggling to go to the bathroom, and I guess he removed all his clothes to go to the bathroom. But it was just the moment of, I'm just sitting there like quietly trying to move things along, and I'm like, eventually I finished up and I'm there for another 10 minutes because my social anxiety was kicking in a little bit. I was thinking to myself, well, I don't want to walk out in the middle of this. Like, if this guy's butt ass naked, like, I don't know if I really need to see that. Yeah, I was trapped in the Walmart bathroom for a while. That was quite the experience.
Wow, this is such an interesting question because I know. Do you ever have a question where you know you have an answer but you can't think of it off the top of your head? Because I feel like that now. Like, I live in Florida, so Florida people are just wild.
Yes.
And I know I have some good stories, but I really can't think of any, and it's making me upset because I've been to like 2 different colleges. I go to, like, I go now to one university, but I went to a different college before. I've been to so many different high schools because my family would move around a lot, and so many different elementary schools and middle schools. So I don't know. I remember this one kid he was in my 5th grade class, and he was in my elementary school, in my middle school classes as well. A lot of them. He was just crazy. Like, when you know those kids that always get in trouble, that you can tell just need like some behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Like, this kid was always going nuts. And one of the weirdest things I remember witnessing from him was
sorry, I just saw our super chat. Keep going. It wasn't a restroom for the poor guy who was fighting for his life in there. Sorry.
No resting at all, man. He was just having a tantrum over something, and this kid was like taking his clothes off and throwing his like whipping his head around so his glasses threw around the room. And I don't know what drives a young 6th grader to behave that way, but it was pretty
even at such a young age. Yeah, certainly there's a laundry list of stories. For me, it's just always in the bathroom. Like, I remember one time I was in college, like, I'm at an age where I can stand up for myself, but they caught me at my most vulnerable. Again, pants around the ankles, going to the bathroom, doing my thing. And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden, like these kids start, like, I guess they were washing their hands. There was like 3 of them, and they just like pop up like 3 fucking toilet wet paper towel balls in the stall. They missed me each time, but I was like, I don't even know who the fuck you guys are. But they were just, instead of throwing them in the trash, they threw them in the stall. I don't know why, but I don't know, man. You're at your most vulnerable there. It's why dogs' ears go back, because they're very vulnerable there.
I hate public bathrooms.
Yeah,
I hate.
I overcame my fear of them
because
there's too much to lose if you don't go into one.
I'm not afraid of them. I just find them so disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the smell of them. I don't like walking around in them. I don't like using them.
Walking around in them.
Well, just being in there, I feel gross. You know what I mean? Like other people are using the restroom here.
Right.
I don't like using any toilet but my own.
I understand that.
But I've
See,
been going.
I was trained in like high school, right, where you had these like 8-hour days, and
Oh yeah, dude.
you just try to survive, but there's some days you can't, and you cave into the pressure. And eventually, I said, you know what? It's so much better for me and my mental health if I just go. If I just go to the bathroom. The only time it went really south was when I was in there for like 20 minutes because my stomach was killing me that day. And bro, like I remember I was gone and like I walked back into the classroom. The whole class was looking at me like, "Where were you?" I was like, "Why is it any of your all business?"
Oh no.
Yeah, that was the worst part of it. You come back in, teacher said something too, really hung me out to dry. Class chimed in because teacher chimed in. Not a good sequence of events.
Yeah, I remember in high school I'd come back like if I had like a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. You ever show up to school and then like you're in the middle of a period and they're like, okay, just go to your class. For me, like I'm not going to my class. I'm walking around, but I feel like I'm playing like Metal Gear or something, like walking around the halls, dodging teachers, like hiding in like little tiny hallways just so I don't get caught. I hated going into class, and I had really bad social anxiety. I still do, but like in high school, it was bad. So being that kid that showed up late or in the middle, all the attention is on you. You know, teacher asks you a question, and it's just like it's scary. It's really tough.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, you probably all learned enough about our bowel habits to last you a show. Let's talk about games to wrap this up. Got a couple more questions we'll fire through here. Pixel Anarchy writes, "Hey, hammy thighs. So Halo Infinite is coming out soon, real soon, and so far there isn't a strong marketing campaign behind it like other Halo games in the past. Halo 3 we believed and finished the fight. In ODST we were prepared to drop. In Halo Reach we remembered. In Halo 4 we woke John up. In Halo 5 we hunted the truth. Still salty about how misleading that was though. And in Halo Wars 2 we knew our enemy. For most of these games, there were slogans and trailers that sold the feel of the game, my personal favorite being the Believe trailer with the statuette diorama. So here's my task for you. Pitch me your marketing campaign for Halo Infinite and give me a slogan and maybe an idea for a commercial or more if you have it. This may be an individual effort or a group project. If you so desire, I will be judging, and my judgment will be determined by how I address both your names in the next write-in. May the best ham rise above." Oh, this is a little...
Wow.
Yeah, this is a little
so
bit
are we
of a roller coaster
competing
here.
against each other here? I guess
Let's work together on this. Let's work together on this, right?
Okay.
I think it's necessary.
Okay. So we both played Infinite. Or the not the demo. The what do they call it?
The flight test. Yeah.
Flight test. Yes. For me, it felt like Halo was good again, and that's like what it is to it. I don't think there's really much else. Yeah, like it felt like Halo 3, but they took running. So I don't know. It's
that's just like we fucking did it. Like after a year, like all this development, they're just like we fucking did it. That's their slogan. What was your idea?
Halo is good again. I wrote it down in the thing. Halo's good again, but then like they can give you a little bit of trust. They're like, if you don't believe us, it's free. Go try it. You know what I mean? Like, if you got a high-end PC, you have a Series X, Halo's good again, and it's free. I think that brings people in. People who don't trust 343, they can try for free, no commitment, no $70 purchase.
Yeah.
And if they really like it, they'll say, okay, let me give the story a try, and then they actually pay for the game.
Yeah, I
don't know.
I'm thinking like if we're talking slogan, right? Like we believed, we finished the fight, prepare to drop. I'm thinking with Infinite, since it's such a callback to Halo Combat Evolved in a lot of ways, at least visually, and it's landing on the anniversary. I'm thinking like almost a return to the ring, or maybe it's almost like a finish the fight in its own way, or back to basics. I feel like a quick like like 1 2 3 1 2 3, like a 3-syllable thing would work really well here. Not syllables, but you get what I'm trying to say.
3-word.
Yeah, 3-word. I feel like that would work well. But an idea for a commercial, I don't even watch enough TV. Someone said Combat Evolved. I like that one.
Something with Infinite in it. War is Infinite. That's not bad.
That's a good one, yeah.
something with Infinite, because do we even know why it's called Halo Infinite? Like,
I think it's because the platform's infinite. So Wars Infinite would actually be really good.
yeah, I don't know. I
imagine it's like a dating sim,
I
and they're
wouldn't be-
like, "Love is infinite." Master Chief takes Cortana out on a date finally.
You have to choose between Cortana and what's the girl's name? Keys in Halo 3.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Anyway,
Or
Pixel,
Crazy
great question,
Cortana.
and I'm sure you'll have a great follow up to this one. All right.
I feel like we failed.
Yeah, probably. It just calls failures to start it off. BR Blurry writes in, "Good day. My question for both of you comes from experience of playing Vampire. I love the game, although it has its problems. I found it to be one of the most underrated games of the entire generation. The atmosphere of the game was my personal highlight, as I found its world incredibly immersive. I played it at just the right time during lockdown, too, as the game is set during the early 1900s flu pandemic. I live just a few miles outside of London, so getting to experience a real-world pandemic and lockdown while playing a game set in last century's pandemic was incredibly cathartic and relatable. The dimly lit, slightly gothic tone gave me a huge Jack the Ripper vibe and got me thinking why we don't get more games that take advantage of lesser-known historical settings. Ever since I finished the game over a year ago, I can't stop thinking about wanting a similar game set in that time. My brain has latched on to a LA Noire-style detective game, but set in a period of the notorious killings of Jack the Ripper. So my question to both of you is, if you could pick any genre of game and set it whenever you like, what game would that be? And when would you set it? P.S. Loving the new version of H.A.M. You guys have been doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you, Blurry. We appreciate you. Oh, Josh Anderson actually followed up with a great one for the Halo Infinite one, saying infinite delay. That's a really good one.
Josh just saved us.
He really has. This is a tough one because I always go to like the easy one that people talk about, but it's always like feudal Japan, Assassin's Creed. Would love to see how that one plays out, but I want to get a little more creative with it. But do you have any that come to mind right away for you, or shall we just piggyback the easy answer here?
It's weird because I really like the 60s, 50s, like post World War II setting, but it's overused. You got BioShock, you got Fallout, LA Noire I adore. So I don't want to wear that down and I don't want to be boring. So I'm going to pick something interesting. I want to do I don't know how much accuracy there would be to this, but I would love a Ghost of Tsushima type game in World War II Japan. I feel like you're getting to that transitionary period where you have like an empire, but it's slowly shifting, or it will eventually almost immediately shift to, I don't know what they shifted to like right after World War II, but whatever they did, I think that's an interesting period that isn't, as far as I know, explored a lot. I mean, there's a Studio Ghibli movie, which it's very, very, very sad. It's not like your typical Studio Ghibli where it's like, it's called Grave of the Fireflies. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it if you can handle like very sad, depressing things. And it's such an interesting period where I feel like I didn't know so much about it. Because it's basically about like napalm bombings by the US in Japan. So I would love to see a game set in that time period, but like with traditional like things we know from Japanese games like samurai and stuff.
Right.
I don't know how accurate that would be to the time period, but I think it's an interesting one to explore to really humanize an issue that a lot of people don't really get to explore. So that's my pick.
No, it's a great answer. I think anything during that 40s to 50s period is always very alluring because it's a romanticized period in history that has a lot of darkness to it, which is why it's, I think, so captivating for a lot of people.
And it's shaped our world so much today. And like a lot of what we know about society or just like how our governments operate is a result of World War II and some of the smaller, or not even smaller, but wars that come after it. You know what I mean? Like these wars shaped the world.
Yes.
So it's an interesting period, and that's part of why we always get so many like shooters in World War II. Right.
Absolutely. There's just so many angles
but
to
it's
it.
the biggest war in the world, as far as like current, or not current, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a really interesting answer beyond that. I thought yours was much more thoughtful than mine, and I'm not like a history buff where I could like pick one out and think of like what would be a reasonable game set in it, because something like Vampire is such a like creative idea when you think about it. When you really boil it down to the time period and how well it plays into the way the world is built, even it's like, okay, how can we build this kind of semi-open world district-based game where it's depressing and dark, but you can have a vampire kind of roam through the night, and it's like, there you go, 1900s London during the flu pandemic, and are people dying by vampire? They dying by the flu, and you're playing as a doctor. I mean, there's just it's a perfect like meeting of everything. It's such an excellent game.
I was going to say something. The reason why I brought up the World War II thing, this is kind of random, but I did an assignment today where I had to look at a media or communications team that has produced something or put something out that is akin to propaganda. Mm-hmm. And what I did was Disney during World War II, because the United States, this is just totally random, so like I'm totally flying off the handle here, but the U.S. Army occupied Walt Disney Studios in 1940 something in California because of the Pearl Harbor bombings, and as a result, like Disney was talking to the U.S. government, and the United States government sort of bailed Disney out by letting them create propaganda films for the U.S. And it's just crazy how they sort of like put Japan and like you can see like the propaganda heavily. So it made me think about that period, and that's why I want to see something with Japan during that time period, because they get demonized a lot. Like, you know, we'll be getting into a history, but all kinds of stuff that I think people benefit from seeing and experiencing.
Absolutely. Shout out to Brumosaurus, who just gave us a little super chat. Hey guys, great job on Ham Radio. Loving it, being a huge Fallout fans. Happy early bombs dropping days. Yes, tomorrow as we record this will be the anniversary of the bombs dropping for Fallout. Imagine Bethesda actually like celebrates by announcing something on that day. I remember that was a big dream for Fallout 4, but thank you, Brumosaurus, for supporting us. We appreciate that. All right, we got 2 more questions left. Let's bang them out, and we'll be all caught up on the patron write-ins this episode. Yodeling Llamas is the next one. What's happening? I've been watching Matty since his Skyrim weapon finding days, and I've loved every minute of it. Kopi, congrats on making the team. You bring a mild voice to the podcast that superbly tempers Matty's hyped nature.
Absolutely does.
Yeah. The question I have for you today is in regards to Fable. I have loved the game since OG, but have become less interested as the years progress. I felt that the stories of Fable 2 and 3 had too much hand-holding and not enough danger. So my question is focused on OG. In the OG Fable, not the Lost Chapters, Jack of Blades had a more human voice, which I felt really suited his character arc. In the Lost Chapters, that voice was changed to demonic in nature. What are by the way, he put Dukes here, which is kind of interesting because this is ham radio, but I get the mistake. What are the Duke's thoughts on this voice change, and which do you prefer? And if Jack of Blades was to return in the new Fable, which voice would suit him better? Keep up the fantastic work, and I hope your cars take a little bit longer to warm up this winter.
Oh, God. I'm in Florida. I'll be fine.
I won't be in New York.
Yeah. Oh, man. That must be hard with the snow and stuff.
I got to be honest. I don't know if I can answer this one. It's been so long. It's been a while since I played Fable.
I definitely can't because I haven't played Fable.
It's been so long that I can't authoritatively like speak on it.
So his voice changes. Is it because of a lore reason, or is it just like it just changes?
Lost Chapters was like a re-release, if I remember correctly. This was like when I was very young and just getting more into hardcore gaming, where I was like going to GameStop, but like I remember around this time was because it came out in 2005. I want to say was when I started going online and picking games up based off reviews. Like my dad had showed me all this stuff. He was like, look, so you don't have to buy stuff blindly and be disappointed, because there were like shitty tie-in games I was buying that really sucked. So he showed me that. And so I'm not sure like when exactly and what the cadence of this release was, but based off the write-in here, I'm understanding as this new version had a voice change that made him more demonic in nature. And I don't know if I can really comment on it because, again, it's been so long since I have played Fable in multiple states, by the way. But if Jack of Blades was to return a new Fable, which voice would suit him better? I guess to make it I would say the demonic voice would probably be most sensible for a return. But again, it depends on the state of the world, when it's set, all of that. Because there was like a fake leak that mentioned Jack of Blades was returning, but time will tell on that. It's a great write-in. I apologize I can't give you a more detailed answer on that. let's do our final question for the show here. Arctic Sword 46 is our last write-in. Hey boys, hope you're all doing well. No call on this week. We'll be stuck at work. So last night, me and my girlfriend were watching Dexter, getting ready for the revival next month. It got me thinking, if I could bring back any TV show for one more season, what would it be? I would bring back How I Met Your Mother. It's one of my favorites, and while I'm one of the few who like the ending, I would love one more season to see Ted and Tracy together. So my question for this season, for you guys, is if you could bring back any TV show for one more season, which would it be and why? Now, Maddie, I know you're not a huge TV guy, so I'll ask if you could bring back any anime for one more season, what would it be and why? Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. What's funny is I have a TV answer and an anime answer for this one. So do you have any in mind?
You should go first.
Okay.
I do, but I want to think on it more so.
TV, Daredevil. Daredevil needs another season. Netflix Daredevil. That shit was good. I would love to see more of that. So bring that back. The other one for anime, shout out to Akame ga Kill. This was a good one. It got done dirty, though, because it was a summer anime, so they tried to squeeze out the whole thing in one summer. So you had pretty much 3 sections of the story. So you had part 1, part 2 is completely missing, and then they hop right into part 3 randomly. There's no transition, nothing. It just randomly happens. I would love to see them get an extra season, fill in that gap, because it would be an excellent anime if it had that. But unfortunately, it falls short because of that. But yeah, Daredevil, Akame ga Kill, those 2 are my picks.
So for me, it's kind of weird because all the shows and animes I love know when to end. And I think you know what I mean, right? Because so many shows drag on. Like The Walking Dead, I thought was really good up until like season 3, I'd say. And that's kind of a different answer.
But yeah, I get
you think season 5? Well, for me, it was season 3 because after that, I sort of like fell off. So all the shows I really like just sort of like know when to end, and enough is enough. But so with that being said, I'll do like one real show and one anime as well.
Right.
It's both of my answers are weird though, because my first one is Breaking Bad, which has an amazing ending, and it's also weird because they had a movie tie-in towards like that actually told the story of Jesse Pinkman, one of the characters, after the show's conclusion. I want to see. Yeah. I feel like I would like to see more of like how the characters are affected by a lot of what happens in the show. And you do sort of see it at the end of Breaking Bad, but I just think it could maybe benefit from it. I don't know. And then another one for anime would be this show called Madoka Magica, because it ends with a movie, and they're making another movie, but I want to see like another anime season because I think it's like usually more interesting than the movies.
Yeah.
Madoka Magica, because it has such a really powerful ending, and you don't really know like what's gonna happen next. So it's good that they're making a movie and showing us that, but I kind of wish it was just like in the anime form. I'm gonna do one more.
Go for it.
And I just forgot.
Oh, the worst feeling.
It was an anime too. Wow, that's horrible.
I was going to say Dragon Ball Super because they keep doing movies for it, and it's like all over the timeline. It's like, I just want to see another season of Super.
Thank you. That reminded me. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
There you go.
Because we're getting a Cowboy Bebop live action, and there's movies, but when it ends, and there's nothing after it, and there's still like, there's so much to explore with other characters. I guess spin-off or something, but at the same time, that show is so good, and it's part of like the time period it was made in, so maybe they don't really need to revisit it, but I would love to see like explore other characters like Jet and Faye. I want to see what they're up to after the events of Cowboy Bebop.
Do you think they're going to do that with the new Netflix reboot at all? Do you think they're going to like try to carry it in a new direction afterwards, or?
No, I would hope not. I would want to see that animated, but I don't think they will. Matt, you should watch that show, by the way, because
I know that's one that's like I think it's gonna be like the next one I watch, like for real.
It's really good, and also you love KOTOR, right? And it has like that. You have like a I don't want to say ragtag, but it's almost like a ragtag group of people on a spaceship flying through space doing things.
That's like my kryptonite.
That's Cowboy Bebop, except it's really good. It's got great music. It's so good. Josh is saying you should watch it. So
there you go. That's all I need.
Both your editors are hammering it onto you. You got to do it.
I definitely will. It's something that I've been wanting to for a while, but I gotta finish Squid Game first. Like that, I watched 2 episodes. I was like, all right, this is pretty good. I'll finish this when I'm not reviewing games, whenever that is. So we'll get to it. But anyway, that is episode 5 of Ham Radio Live. It's been an excellent episode. We thank you all so much for tuning in. We were sitting at about like 270 for most of this episode, which is our highest concurrent. So we appreciate those of you who popped in, have sat with us, chatted with us, super chatted, or written in. We really wanted to focus on the write-ins because it's just tough to balance, honestly, with the call-ins and the write-ins. Sometimes some of those write-ins will be left just to the side so we can prioritize call-ins. We wanted to really brush up, get those done with, catch up on everything. And our last super chat is from Tyler Ramsey. He says, Maddie, I brought this up when you were on Colt Eastwood's podcast 3 days ago. Grim Dawn was submitted for certification on the Xbox port. Hey, that's great. I actually like Grim Dawn. So I say Grimblade, who's one of our patrons. I think that's good news, though. That's a game that I think is underappreciated. But beyond that, that's all I've got for episode 5 of Ham Radio Live. Anything you want to toss out there?
Tim in the chat. Matt.
Wait, what's
yeah,
up?
Tim in the chat here said that.
What's up? You're lagging a little bit. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, you're like Tim.
I know my internet's crashing. Wow. Is it still lagging?
Oh, they added all of Cowboy Bebop to Netflix today. I see that now. Yeah, you're good.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're good. Anyway, I'll wrap it up now just in case you continue to lag. And I'm going to assume you have absolutely nothing left to say. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed episode 5 of Ham Radio Live. We'll catch you next week for episode 6. We'll talk more state of play, whatever shows up from that, beyond much, much more. So until then, take good care of yourselves, and we'll talk soon.